Chapter 756. Thinking of this, Yi Chen was about to withdraw his divine sense and head over when a giant golden python suddenly appeared in Yi Chen's divine sense. At that moment, a term that Yi Chen had almost forgotten suddenly appeared in Yi Chen's mind. Golden race, F***ck. This giant python, could it really be the golden race? The golden race was a legend that was widely spread in Yi Chen's previous life. According to the legend, the golden race was born with the spirit of heaven and earth. They were blessed by heaven and had great potential. They could ignore the advancement barrier and advance all the way to the golden immortal realm. Their bodies were golden and their blood was also golden. They were the best of the best. Eating their flesh could strengthen one's body, and drinking their blood could strengthen one's bones. In Yi Chen's previous life, there was a saying among the players that if one had a piece of gold, they would not exchange it for 10,000 acres of land. It meant that if one could obtain a golden race, even if someone used 10,000 acres of spiritual herbs to exchange for it, they would not be moved at all. From this, it was not difficult to see how much the players valued the golden race. In fact, in Yi Chen's previous life, the golden race had only appeared once. As for who obtained it, Yi Chen was not too sure. After all, the players had passed it down, and there were hundreds of versions in the end. There was no way to tell. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that the lucky person who obtained the golden race was very popular for a period of time. Unfortunately, no one knew his name. Those who knew his name were not willing to say it. As for why, Yi Chen was not too sure. However, Yi Chen knew one thing. This lucky person had done many big things. Not only did he destroy 3 large forces, but he also barged into Wanyao Mountain alone and kidnapped a fox princess. Later, it was said that the fox princess even gave birth to a half-demon for him. After that, he did several big things in a row. After that, there was no news of him anymore. It was as if he had suddenly disappeared from the face of the earth. Even so, his legend had spread among the players, and the reason was that this person was initially unknown, but after obtaining the golden pig of the golden race, he immediately reached the pinnacle of his life, suppressing forces big and small, and trampling on countless demons. Although his life was like a dazzling meteor that disappeared without a trace after it shone, the players remembered it deeply in their hearts and searched for the golden race in a frenzy. Unfortunately, the rarity of the golden race was completely out of everyone's expectations. So many players had searched the mountains and plains for a whole month, but no one had found anything. Since then, there were still many players who continued to persevere. Unfortunately, their efforts were to no avail. As for Yi Chen, in his previous life, he had also searched for the special existence of the golden race. Unfortunately, Yi Chen had also found nothing. After that, he treated it as a joke and no longer focused on it. And now, Yi Chen's consciousness had actually detected a golden python that was most likely a member of the golden race. How could Yi Chen not remember the golden race that had caused a huge sensation in his previous life? If it was really a golden race, he really could not let it go. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but raise his eyebrows. Then, with a thought, the space in front of him was instantly distorted. Looking at the distorted space, Yi Chen stepped into it and disappeared. 580 miles south of the Medicine King town, in a quiet valley, the space suddenly distorted. Then, a young man stepped out and appeared directly here. The young man was naturally Yi Chen, the one who came for the golden race that might still exist in the heavenly book, Yi Chen. The moment Yi Chen appeared, the giant snakes near the entrance of the karst cave turned their heads and aimed at Yi Chen. Hiss, hiss, hiss! The sound of the giant snakes flicking their tongues was instantly heard. Yi Chen was a human, and a living human at that. To the giant snakes at the entrance of the karst cave, he was completely delicious food. However, the giant snakes at the entrance of the cave immediately stopped their movements of flicking their tongues. Then, the eyes of these giant snakes abruptly shrank, and their pupils directly became vertical and enlarged. In the next second, an extremely sharp scream suddenly rang out. Yi Chen! Yi Chen! It's Yi Chen! Obviously, a giant snake recognized Yi Chen. Otherwise, it would not have screamed like that. In fact, although there were many demon clans in the real world who did not recognize Yi Chen, there were even more who recognized Yi Chen. And there were countless demon clans who had heard of the legend of Yi Chen. Yi Chen's performance during the demon clan's invasion in the beginner's area of the Three Kingdoms was too brutal and perverted. Not only did he chase after and kill the demon clans, but he also King killed the entire demon clans until they fell from the demon clans to the level of ferocious beasts. Therefore, it was impossible for the demon clans in the real world not to recognize Yi Chen. After the sharp scream rang out, the giant snakes at the entrance of the karst cave looked at each other. Then, one by one, they turned around and fled. Fight head-on? Block? Prevent Yi Chen from entering the karst cave? What a joke! Yi Chen was a perverted human. He was an invincible pervert who killed demon clans mercilessly. He killed a large number of demon clans. Who the CK would think that it was a pain in the ass to fight head-on with Yi Chen. They still wanted to live a little longer. This was what the giant snakes were thinking. Then, they made their choice without hesitation. Yi Chen glanced at the giant snakes that were fleeing frantically and curled his lips in disdain. Then, he ignored these irresponsible, giant snakes and walked straight to the entrance of the underground karst cave. Yi Chen still had important things to do here. A heavenly book and a giant snake that might be from the Golden Clan. Yi Chen did not want to let go of any of them. Yi Chen did not want to waste any time on a group of small fries. Moreover, it was useless to kill them. They were all male giant snakes guarding the door. Even if they were killed, the female snakes could still give birth. As long as there was one male snake, it was enough. It was better to kill the female snake that specialized in giving birth. When Yi Chen arrived at the entrance of the underground karst cave, he stopped. He glanced at the entrance of the karst cave that had turned pitch black in less than half a meter. Yi Chen immediately jumped down into the underground karst cave. At the moment when he was about to touch the bottom, Yi Chen stopped in midair. In the next second, Yi Chen released his consciousness. After locking onto the heavenly book and the giant golden snake in the depths of the karst cave, he flew directly into the depths of the karst cave. In the underground karst cave, there were stalactites that hung upside down, stalagmites that stood upright, and stone pillars that were thick at the top and thin in the middle. There were countless oddities. Yi Chen did not forget to take a few glances when he was free along the way. However, Yi Chen soon gave up. This was because there was always something disharmonious in this natural wonder of uncanny workmanship. To be precise, there were too many giant snakes. Anyone who was enjoying the beautiful scenery would lose their interest if they suddenly saw countless giant snakes. Of course, this was also because Yi Chen was confident about this trip. Otherwise, Yi Chen would not be so reckless. However, what made Yi Chen feel a little strange was that the giant snakes in the underground karst cave had obviously sensed Yi Chen's arrival, but they did not open their mouths to shout or attack Yi Chen. It was as if their existence was an illusion. Yi Chen, who noticed this, could not help but frown. What the hell was going on? Had they been warned by the giant snakes outside the karst cave and were afraid, or was it because of something else? Just as Yi Chen's doubts appeared, a ball of golden light suddenly flew out from the depths of the karst cave and rushed straight toward Yi Chen. Chapter 757. Seeing this, Yi Chen's eyes widened. With a wave of his right hand, the connate cardinal treasure godslayer appeared in an instant. In the next second, Yi Chen stabbed the godslayer in his right hand at the golden light. With a buzzing sound, the black and thick godslayer collided with the golden light in an instant. At this moment, layers of golden halos appeared at the point of collision between the godslayer and the golden light. Then, they turned into ripples and spread outwards. This was the heavenly book. When Yi Chen saw the object within the golden light, his eyes narrowed. At this moment, the thought that the golden python had begun to refine the heavenly book appeared in Yi Chen's mind out of nowhere. It was no wonder that Yi Chen thought so. After all, the heavenly book was in the underground karst cave. If it had not been refined, it could not have flown up on its own and attacked Yi Chen. Damn it, the golden python could actually make the heavenly book recognize it as its master. It was only in the realm of a monster. How could it, when a monster obtained a high-grade treasure such as a connate spiritual treasure, unless its realm was extremely high, it was impossible for it to make a connate spiritual treasure recognize its master with a drop of blood. It could only refine it bit by bit and gain the right to use it. In this regard, humans were blessed by nature. To be precise, if a human obtained a connate spiritual treasure and wanted to gain the right to use it, they only needed to make a drop of blood. Otherwise, Yi Chen would not have been able to use connate and acquired treasures such as the Godslayer, the 5-element spirit pearl, the bow of heaven and earth, and the skyquake arrow. Of course, Yi Chen could only use the Godslayer, the 5-element spirit pearl, and other connate spiritual treasures. If he wanted to unleash the full power of the Godslayer, the 5-element spirit pearl, and other connate spiritual treasures, Yi Chen would have to continuously refine them until they were completely refined. In Yi Chen's opinion, the reason why humans were able to obtain the unique ability of dripping blood had something to do with the fact that humans had yet to be stripped of their status as the protagonist of the universe in the real world. If humanity's status as the protagonist of heaven and earth was taken away, humanity could forget about obtaining connate spiritual treasures. They could drip their blood on them and use them directly. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that if the Fey race wanted to successfully use the connate numinous treasure, they would not be able to refine it for hundreds or thousands of years if their cultivation level was not high enough. They would not be able to successfully activate the connate numinous treasure. And this was a connate spiritual treasure. If it were a connate cardinal treasure, it would be even more difficult. The tomes of arcane were primordial treasures. In Yi Chen's opinion, the tomes of arcane in the karst cave could not have been refined by the golden python, which was only in the demonic beast realm. Therefore, the tomes of arcane should be ownerless. But now, Yi Chen had seen the heavenly book being activated. How could he not think that the golden python had begun to refine the heavenly book? Damn it, could it be that the golden python's identity as a golden race had the ability to refine connate treasures as well as humans? Damn it, it must be so. At this thought, Yi Chen could not help but frown. A golden python that could activate the tomes of arcane and a golden python that could not were two completely different concepts. The former had the protection of the tomes of arcane. If Yi Chen wanted to deal with it, it would not be difficult, but it would take some effort. As for the latter, Yi Chen could easily chop it up. Damn it, so what if the tomes of arcane recognize you as its owner? If you can't break the defense of the tomes of arcane, I will exhaust your spiritual energy. Connate numinous treasures and connate cardinal treasures had different abilities, but they all had basic offensive and defensive abilities. Although this basic ability would be different depending on the type and level of the connate numinous treasure or connate cardinal treasure, as long as the treasure recognized its owner, it would be able to unleash this basic ability. However, there was a prerequisite. That was, the owner must have enough spiritual energy to support the connate numinous treasure or connate cardinal treasure, as well as the corresponding dharma power or demonic power. Among these, dharma power or demonic power was not a rigid standard, because they were related to the strength of the basic ability. However, spiritual energy determined whether the basic ability could be used. Without enough spiritual energy, it was impossible to unleash the basic ability of the connate numinous treasure or connate cardinal treasure. To be more precise, the strength of the spiritual energy was related to the duration of the basic ability of the connate numinous treasure or connate cardinal treasure. For example, if Yi Chen wanted to use the basic ability of the Connate Cardinal Treasure Godslayer or the Connate Numinous Treasure 5 Elements Spiritual Pearl, he would not be able to use it when Yi Chen's spiritual energy was exhausted. However, if Yi Chen had enough spiritual energy, he could use it for as long as he wanted. Of course, Yi Chen had not done so. Whether it was when he obtained the Godslayer or when his primordial spirit was enough to support Yi Chen to use the Godslayer for a long time, Yi Chen would always withdraw the Godslayer after using it. The reason was that Connate Numinous Treasures and Connate Cardinal Treasures would continuously deplete the owner's spiritual energy. Yi Chen didn't want to be so reckless and take out treasures like the God-slaying spear to show off everywhere, wasting his soul energy for nothing. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that the Golden Python had begun to refine the Heavenly Book and had sensed the threat from Yi Chen. It had taken the initiative to attack Yi Chen. Before the Golden Python's spiritual energy was exhausted, Yi Chen would not be able to hurt it at all. He would not be able to snatch the Heavenly Book by force, even if he used the Treasurefall money. After all, the Heavenly Book's grade was obvious. The Treasurefall money would not work on Connate Cardinal Treasures. In this way, Yi Chen could only choose one method, and that was to use brute force to break it. To be more precise, he had to attack the Heavenly Book by force and deplete the Golden Python's spiritual energy. This would completely end the time the Golden Python could use the Heavenly Book. At this thought, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. He then pulled back his right hand and the Godslayer instantly withdrew. Just at this moment, the dazzling golden Heavenly Book suddenly rushed at Yi Chen. Obviously, the Golden Python wanted to take the opportunity to attack Yi Chen with the Heavenly Book. Seeing this, Yi Chen smiled coldly. He immediately used the reincarnation spear art that he had not used for a long time. Then, he saw the black and thick Godslayer stabbing out fiercely. Then, 1 turned into 3 and 3 turned into 10,000. In just a moment, 10,000 spear shadows appeared in front of Yi Chen. Then, they violently stabbed at the Heavenly Book that was flying rapidly toward him. If others saw these spear shadows, they would definitely judge that most of them were illusory. But in fact, each of these spear shadows was a substantial attack. And this was the abnormal part of the reincarnation spear art that Yi Chen had comprehended on his own. At the moment when the 10,000 spear shadows appeared, the golden Heavenly Book suddenly shrank again and again. In the blink of an eye, it became the size of a grain of rice. Seeing this, Yi Chen curled his lips in disdain. Was it useful to shrink it? Dream on. Thinking of this, the 10,000 spear shadows in front of Yi Chen instantly changed from their scattered state to a point. Then, they stabbed the Heavenly Book that had shrunk to the size of a grain of rice. At this moment, an extremely dense buzzing sound instantly rang out. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Countless golden ripples crazily burst forth from the Heavenly Book and spread out. In the blink of an eye, the Heavenly Book that was showing off just now dimmed and lost all its golden light. In the next second, the Heavenly Book returned to its original size and fell to the ground. At the same time, the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground instantly came from the depths of the karst cave. Bang! Chapter 758. Yi Chen, whose consciousness had been covering the entire karst cave, could not help but raise his eyebrows when he heard the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground. Damn it, so what if the golden race could drip blood to recognize their master? They were still easily knocked out. Thinking of this, Yi Chen raised his left hand and pulled the Heavenly Book that had fallen to the ground. With a whoosh, the falling Heavenly Book suddenly changed direction and flew toward Yi Chen. In the blink of an eye, it was caught by Yi Chen. At this moment, the originally quiet karst cave was suddenly filled with a dense, hissing sound. Hiss, 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 countless giant snakes coiled around stalagmites, stone pillars, and stalactites suddenly raised their heads and spat their tongues wildly toward the depths of the karst cave. Seeing this, Yi Chen could not help but frown. What are these bastards trying to do? Just as Yi Chen thought of this, the dense sound of air exploding suddenly rang out. Boom, boom, boom. Without exception, all the giant snakes in the karst cave spat out a cloud of grayish-brown smoke toward the depths of the karst cave. In the blink of an eye, the grayish-brown smoke gathered together and flew rapidly toward the depths of the karst cave. Seeing this, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. Soul sacrifice was a special and universal secret technique. Once it was activated, one's entire soul would be offered as a sacrifice to a certain existence. At this moment, the giant snakes in the underground karst cave were spitting out grayish-brown smoke from their bodies as a form of soul sacrifice. To be precise, the grayish-brown smoke was not the poisonous smoke that the giant snakes spat out, but their souls. As for the purpose of the giant snakes, if it were anyone else, they would most likely not understand. However, after being reborn, Yi Chen, who had seen soul sacrifice many times in his previous life, how could he not know that the giant snakes were trying to restore the golden python's soul power so that it could continue to control the heavenly book? Damn it, I was wondering why these giant snakes did not move when they saw me. It turns out that they wanted to sacrifice their souls to the golden python when it couldn't hold on any longer. Thinking of this, Yi Chen smiled coldly and pointed his godslayer at the void. Then, a huge fireball instantly appeared at the tip of the godslayer's spear, instantly illuminating the dark karst cave. At the same time, the huge fireball that suddenly appeared suddenly expanded and reached the top and bottom of the karst cave in the blink of an eye. In the next second, there was a dull explosion instantly. Boom! The huge fireball exploded in an instant and turned into a ferocious fire dragon. It rushed along the cave and headed straight for the gray smoke that had gathered together. The moment the fire dragon made contact with the gray smoke, a violent explosion suddenly. Boom! The gray smoke, or rather, the souls of the giant snakes, were instantly incinerated by the fire dragon and disappeared without a trace. However, the fire dragon did not stop there. It continued to charge out of the karst cave with a violent heatwave. In the span of a breath's cave, the explosion exploding. Bang, 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 without exception, all the giant snakes in the karst cave were ignited by the scorching flames and burned violently. Looking at the countless giant snakes in the karst cave that were being burned by the flames, twisting and struggling instinctively, but were quickly burned to ashes, Yi Chen curled his lips in disdain. It was a good idea, but unfortunately, in the face of absolute power, all ideas were futile. If the enemies the giant snakes encountered were not very strong, the soul sacrifice would be effective and even have the effect of turning the situation around. After all, the golden python had already refined the heavenly book. If the enemy was not very strong, the golden python would fight with the enemy again after recovering its soul energy. If the enemy was very strong, the golden python would very likely use the heavenly book to escape after recovering its soul energy. Unfortunately, the giant snake's enemy was Yi Chen, whose realm was far above the golden python's. The outcome had been determined from the beginning. It was impossible to succeed. After all, Yi Chen, who had been reborn, knew what the soul sacrifice was. He also knew that connate spirit treasures and connate cardinal treasures had the ability to protect their masters. Therefore, even if Yi Chen was not afraid of the golden python that had recovered its soul energy, he would not let the giant snakes in the karst cave succeed in the soul sacrifice. After all, Yi Chen's goal in the karst cave was the connate cardinal treasure, the heavenly book, and the golden python here. How could he let the golden python escape with the heavenly book? Thinking of this, Yi Chen glanced at the heavenly book in his hand, then flew up and arrived at the depths of the karst cave in a breath's time. The moment Yi Chen arrived at the depths of the karst cave, a giant python that was 5 meters thick and 500 meters long with golden scales entered Yi Chen's sight. Looking at the golden python that had fainted because of the exhaustion of its soul energy, Yi Chen's eyes lit up. Damn, what a fat snake. It's about to evolve into a flood dragon. Unfortunately, its level is too low. Logically speaking, this fellow should be from the golden race. Otherwise, it would not have been able to refine the heavenly book. Thinking of this, Yi Chun swung the Godslayer in his right hand at the golden python. Chi-la sound was heard. The black and thick Godslayer instantly cut a hole in the golden python's body. At the same time, golden snake blood flowed out of the golden python's body. The corners of Yi Chen's mouth curled up when he saw this. Sure enough, my judgment was right. This bastard is from the golden race. This is just right. I'll take the heavenly book and bring this fellow back to strengthen my body. As for the snake blood to improve my bone structure, I have the 5 elements spirit pearl. After refining it all, I can directly advance to the 5 elements divine constitution. I don't need it. I wonder if Zhao Yu, Chanwan, and Kai Mei would like it. If they don't like it, I'll give it to Yi Lin and Little Yu to use. Thinking of this, Yi Chen raised his eyebrows. Then, he used the Godslayer in his right hand to stab the golden python's head. Poochie! A sound was heard. The Godslayer stabbed the golden python's head. At the same time, the Godslayer flashed and instantly devoured the golden python's soul. At this moment, the system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for successfully killing the golden python. Due to its special status as the golden race, player Yi Chen is rewarded with innate attribute points x 3000. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for successfully gaining the hatred of the evolved race. Automatically receiving the hatred mark. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for obtaining the heavenly book. The heavenly book. Due to its necessity, do you wish to relinquish the rights to the heavenly book? Ding! Reminder to player Yi Chen. If you refuse, you will automatically receive the special storyline, Anger of the Primeval. After the series of system notifications ended, Yi Chen could not help but be stunned. Holy shit! What's going on? Chapter 759. Yi Chen did not expect that killing the golden python would trigger a series of system notifications. Of course, this was not the main point. The main point was that the reward for killing the golden python was extremely high, and it even attracted the attention of the evolved race. What kind of existence was this? Even though Yi Chen had been reborn, he was still dumbfounded by this. Be it Yi Chen's previous life or Yi Chen's current life, he had never heard of any news about the evolved race. But now, Yi Chen had heard of it, and he was even targeted by the evolved race and automatically received a hatred mark. How could Yi Chen not be dumbfounded? Damn it, what was going on with the evolved race? Could it be that the golden python of the golden race was a member of the evolved race? Killing it would be sensed by the entire evolved race, and they would all come to me for revenge? Wait a minute, in his previous life, the lucky guy who killed the golden pig disappeared without a trace. Could it be because of the hatred mark of the evolved race? After killing the golden pig, the lucky guy in Yi Chen's previous life advanced by leaps and bounds and quickly soared to the tribulation stage, which was Yi Chen's current realm. After that, the lucky guy was in the limelight for a while, and then disappeared overnight. Whether it was in the game world or in the real world, there was no news about him. Because of this, the players made many guesses. Even Yi Chen made a guess because of this. But guesses were guesses. Until Yi Chen's rebirth, no one was able to decipher the reason for the mysterious disappearance of the lucky guy. And now, Yi Chen had killed the golden python of the golden race and received the hatred mark of the evolved race. It was impossible not to connect this to the mysterious disappearance of the lucky guy in his previous life. Damn, it must be like this. This meant that this time, he had gotten another opportunity for free. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly lit up. The opportunity that Yi Chen was thinking of was naturally related to the evolved race, and the source was the hatred mark that the system had given him. As for whether the mark of hatred was dangerous or not, it didn't matter. What was important was what it could bring to Yi Chen. To be more precise, if the so-called evolvers were similar to the golden python that Yi Chen had just killed, then under the premise of the hatred mark, they would definitely look for Yi Chen and seek revenge on Yi Chen. As a result, Yi Chen would have a chance to hunt more gold boas, gold pigs, and gold cows. There was only one result of hunting enough golden species, or evolved species, and that was that Yi Chen would gain a lot of benefits. It should be known that the flesh and blood of the golden species could strengthen the body and improve the bone structure. Such an ability was actually no different from a treasure of heaven and earth. If Yi Chen hunted enough golden species, whether it was Yi Chen or Yi Chen's subordinates, they would all benefit. There was no doubt about this, and this was based on the fact that the golden race was one of the top existences in the evolutionary clan. If the golden race wasn't ranked at the top among the evolutionary clans and was only in the middle, or even the lower, then the evolutionary clan that Yi Chen would soon meet would definitely be of a higher grade and stronger than the flesh of the golden python that he had just killed. In this way, the benefits that Yi Chen could gain would be even greater. Of course, there would definitely be danger. After all, the lucky guy who had killed the gold pig in Yi Chen's previous life had reached the tribulation stage, but in the end, he suddenly disappeared. But Yi Chen really didn't care about this. It should be known that the lucky guy in Yi Chen's previous life had only soared to the tribulation stage half a year after the players had ascended to the Eldritch world. But now, the game had only started for half a year, and not a single player had succeeded in ascending. Of course, this wasn't the key. The key was that Yi Chen had already reached the tribulation stage before the players had ascended. Moreover, he had the Khanate Ultimate Treasure Godslayer, the Khanate Spiritual Treasure set of 5 elements Spirit Pearls, the Khanate Ultimate Treasures Qinkuan Bao, Heaven-Shaking Arrow, and so on. Even in the Eldritch world, these treasures were enough to rank among the top treasures. These were the source of Yi Chen's confidence, and also the source of Yi Chen's confidence. Moreover, no matter how mysterious and powerful the evolved race was, it was impossible for them to reach the same level as Yi Chen in the short span of half a year after the game had started. Their strength might even be more abnormal than Yi Chen's. If that was really the case, no matter how mysterious they would have ascended to the Eldritch world directly. And Yi Chen would have heard the world announcement related to them because of this. But the reality was that at this moment on Earth, not a single player of any race had succeeded in ascending. It was also because of this that Yi Chen was so happy after deducing the role of the evolved race. After all, the so-called Mark of Hatred was a treasure bowl for Yi Chen. With it, Yi Chen could continuously harvest the evolved race. Damn it, if my deduction is correct, I'm going to make a fortune this time. I just don't know how many of these evolved races there are. I hope it's not just a few or 1 or 2. That would really be a pain in the ass, but according to the system's inference, it shouldn't be too little. When I go back, I'll give this task to Yi Lin. Thinking of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but smirk. Then, with a thought, he instantly recalled the Godslayer. In the next second, Yi Chen raised his right hand and pointed it at the golden python's corpse. Then, the golden python's corpse was sucked into the small world. Glancing at the golden python in the small world, Yi Chen smiled slightly, then looked at the heavenly book in his left hand. At this moment, the system's notification sounded again. Ding! Player Yi Chen has 3 seconds to make a choice. If you don't make a choice, it will automatically be regarded as a rejection and the special plot, Anger of the Primeval, will automatically activate. As soon as the system's notification ended, Yi Chen curled his lips in disdain. Reject? That's a must. Damn it, so what if it's the Primeval? Once the heavenly book is in my hands, it's mine. Thinking of this, Yi Chen forced out a drop of essence blood without hesitation and dripped it onto the heavenly book. However, to Yi Chen's surprise, the heavenly book didn't react at all to Yi Chen's essence blood. Seeing this, Yi Chen couldn't help but be taken aback. Then, with a thought, his primordial spirit instantly left the purple mansion and appeared outside. At this moment, the system's notification sounded again. Ding! Player Yi Chen has not made a choice within the allotted time. The special plot, Anger of the Primeval, will automatically activate. Ding! Player Yi Chen will be hunted down by Primeval at the start of the Investiture of the Gods storyline. If player Yi Chen survives, player Yi Chen will receive a reward. If player Yi Chen repels Primeval, player Yi Chen will receive the right to participate in the Investiture of the Gods battle. If player Yi Chen kills Primeval, player Yi Chen will receive the right to lead the Investiture of the Gods battle. Chapter 760. As soon as the system's notification ended, Yi Chen's primordial spirit's eyes widened, and a bright light flashed across his eyes. Holy shit! This was the fury of the primordial spirit. Although Yi Chen did not hear the specific content of the fury of the primordial spirit from the system's notification, he could roughly guess the process of the fury of the primordial spirit based on the name of the plot. To be precise, he was being hunted down by the primordial spirit. However, Yi Chen did not expect that the fury of the primordial spirit, which was triggered by his refusal to hand over the ownership of the heavenly book, would come with such great benefits. For example, if he survived, he would be rewarded. Although the size of the reward was not specified, it could not be too bad. After all, the one who was chasing Yi Chen was the primordial spirit, one of the top masters in the Eldritch world. Of course, this was not important. What was important were the other two rewards. By defeating the primordial spirit, Yi Chen would gain the right to participate in the Battle of the Gods. By killing the primordial spirit, Yi Chen would gain the right to lead the Battle of the Gods. Either of the two could bring great benefits to Yi Chen. Take the former, for example. If Yi Chen successfully defeated the primordial spirit and gained the right to participate in the Battle of the Gods, he could totally join the Battle of the Gods as a force. This was something that no player could do. Even if a player risked his life to participate, he would at most play a small role and not a real participant. However, if Yi Chen gained the right to participate, he would be a real participant. He could participate in the battle as a force that was recognized by the heavens and earth. In this way, Yi Chen could help the Jie sect or form his own faction to gain various benefits in the Battle of the Gods. As for the benefits of the Battle of the Gods, others might only see the various innate spiritual treasures, innate ultimate treasures, and various super high EXP treasures dropped. However, Yi Chen saw another important thing: the fate of the heavens and earth. That's right, it was the providence of heaven and earth. No matter how powerful the Battle of Gods was, it was still a battle between the Jie school and the Chan school. These two sects each occupied a large portion of the heaven and earth providence of the untainted world. Once they failed, both the Jie school and the Chan school would definitely lose a lot of heaven and earth providence. And if Yi Chen could become a real participant with the right of participation and win in the end, he would definitely be able to take away the corresponding providence. And to Yi Chen, who walked the path of the sovereign Tao of karmic luck, how could this not be precious? How could he not value it? Of course, this was only the chi of heaven and earth. If the connate spirit treasures and connate cardinal treasures that were dropped after the disciples of the Chan school and the Jie school died, the benefits would be even greater. After all, the disciples of Chan school and Jie school basically had treasures. For example, Zhao Gongming's 24C calming pearls, San Zhao's primordial chaos golden dipper, golden dragon scissors, dragon binding rope, etc. There were countless connate spirit treasures. Under normal circumstances, the treasures dropped after the disciples of the Jie school and the Chan school died would basically be taken away by the Chan school, who theoretically won. And with the right of participation, Yi Chen could join the Battle of the Gods. Then Yi Chen would have the first opportunity to plunder all kinds of innate spiritual treasures and other treasures. Compared to the players who could only be extras and fight small monsters, this was much, much better. This was only the benefit that the right of participation brought to Yi Chen. If he obtained the right of dominance after killing the primeval lord of heaven and earth, Yi Chen could completely replace the Chan school and take away the heaven and earth providence of the Chan school, as well as all the Khanate spiritual treasures, Khanate ultimate treasures, and even ultimate treasures of the chaos. Of course, this was only an ideal situation. After all, the primeval Lord of Heaven was one of the three pure ones and was transformed from Pangu's primordial spirit. With the great merit of creation, it was not easy to kill him. But this was not important. What was important was that the special plot of the primeval Lord of Heaven's wrath could bring Yi Chen all kinds of benefits. It was enough to let Yi Chen avoid many detours in the primeval world. It was even possible for him to reach the top in one step. After all, Yi Chen ascended to the primeval world in order to become stronger and become the strongest person. His biggest goal was to plunder the heaven and earth providence of the primeval world. If Yi Chen obtained most of the heaven and earth providence of the primeval world, Yi Chen's Providence dynasty would be the strongest and most awesome Providence dynasty in the primeval world. It would be the one and only. At that time, Yi Chen wanted to unify the primeval world. Although it would be difficult, it would not be impossible for him to ascend to the position of celestial emperor that ruled all worlds. As for the danger of being hunted down by the primeval Lord of Heaven, Yi Chen naturally knew that. But Yi Chen did not care at all. Don't forget that Yi Chen still had a few crazy missions to complete. In the end, he would have to face Yang Mei Immortal and Hong Jun. Compared to them, the primeval Lord of Heaven's wrath was much less of a threat. How could Yi Chen be afraid of him? Damn it, this mission was an opportunity. If he grasped it, he would soar to the sky. However, the potential danger was not small. After the whole country ascended, he could not take the heavenly book out. He could only leave it in the Samsara Empire and use the providence of the empire to conceal the aura of the heavenly book. Otherwise, once the primeval Lord of Heaven sensed it, he would definitely chase after him. Yi Chen was now in the crossing calamity stage. Although he was invincible in the real world, he was just a small shrimp in the untainted land. If Yi Chen was hunted down by the primeval Lord of Heaven at this time, Yi Chen might not be able to escape even if he wanted to. This was not the result Yi Chen wanted to see. Otherwise, Yi Chen would not have thought of leaving the heavenly book in the Samsara Empire that would be built soon, and then use the providence of the empire to conceal the mystery of heaven. This trip was fruitful. Not only did he get the heavenly book that could be used as a top imperial edict, but he also got the Volver tribe, and attracted the wrath of the primeval Lord of Heaven. Not bad, not bad. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's primeval spirit could not help but smile. Then, he rushed straight to the heavenly book and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Yi Chen wanted to drip blood on the heavenly book but failed. Naturally, it was because the remnant soul of the golden python was still in the heavenly book. Otherwise, it would not have ended up like this. It was also because of this that Yi Chen directly used his primeval spirit to enter the heavenly book. As soon as Yi Chen's primeval spirit entered the inner world of the heavenly book, an earth-shattering roar was heard. "Human, submit to me and take me as your master. I will confer you as a god." At the same time, a monstrous pressure appeared out of nowhere and pressed down on Yi Chen. Sensing the monstrous pressure, Yi Chen suddenly opened his eyes. A violent, domineering, and powerful aura suddenly rose from Yi Chen's primeval spirit. Then, it went straight to the overwhelming pressure. Boom! When the two forces met, there was an instant explosion. Then, layers of ripples quickly exploded in mid-air and dispersed into the distance. At this time, Yi Chen's primeval spirit raised his head and looked in the direction of the sound. When Yi Chen saw the golden python's remnant soul, whose eyes were full of malice but whose body was shining with golden light, he laughed coldly and shouted, "Evil creature! Die!" Chapter 761. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, a violent killing intent erupted. Then, Yi Chen's primordial spirit soared into the air. In the blink of an eye, it flew rapidly towards the remnant soul of the golden python with a suffocating killing intent. The heavenly book had the ability to confer deification. Yi Chen did not want to give the golden python the time to figure out the correct way to use the heavenly book. Otherwise, the pressure that the heavenly book exerted on Yi Chen would not be the overflowing pressure that Yi Chen had encountered when he had first entered the heavenly book world. Instead, it would be a restriction from the heavenly way and a forceful command from the heavenly way. To be more precise, if the golden python grasped the true way to use the heavenly book and used it correctly, then the heavenly book's ability to confer deification would immediately erupt. Then, the wielder of the golden python could represent the heavens and confer deification on Yi Chen. It was almost impossible for Yi Chen to refuse. After all, the heavenly book was the investiture of the gods. It contained the rules of the heavenly way. If one's strength could not surpass the heavenly way, they would inevitably be suppressed or restricted by the heavenly way. Of course, this was just a hypothesis. In reality, the remnant soul of the golden python did not know the correct way to use the heavenly book. Otherwise, the remnant soul of the golden python would not have immediately berated Yi Chen after his primordial spirit entered the world of the heavenly book. It wanted Yi Chen to submit. If Yi Chen submitted, it would confer deification on Yi Chen. This was obviously a sign that it knew the ability of the heavenly book but did not know how to use it. The key to the correct way to use the heavenly book was whether the user of the heavenly book was a God-confirmant executor bestowed by the heavenly way. For example, in the primitive world, during the battle of the gods, the heavenly book was used, which was the investiture of the gods. Jiang Zia, who conferred deification on behalf of the heavens, was a God-confirmant executor. Whoever he conferred deification would be a god recognized by the heavenly way. This was a God-confirmant executor, a special power bestowed by the heavenly way. Basically, as long as one obtained the identity of an investiture executor, one could successfully use the heavenly book to become a god. Of course, after successfully using the heavenly book to become a god, he still needed the holy whip to manage the gods. If he didn't have the god striking whip in his hand, the process of ascending to godhood might have gone smoothly, but he wouldn't have been able to carry out the management afterward. After all, even though investiture was good, one would have to be suppressed by the heavenly Tao for eternity. Moreover, one would have to be under the jurisdiction of the celestial emperor and obey all of the celestial emperor's orders without the slightest violation. Most living beings would not be willing to do such a thing. It must be known that these existences that had been deified all contained unyielding and unwilling souls in the depths of their hearts. For example, Shun Gongbao in the battle of deification. Although he lost in the end and was later deified by Jiang Zia, he was still unwilling to accept it in his heart. However, there was nothing he could do. This was because he didn't want his divine soul to be destroyed, nor did he want to be punished by the deity's striking whip. This wasn't difficult to tell from the way he laughed at Jiang Zia when he was being deified. Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was how to use the heavenly book. If one didn't have the most critical hard criteria, then one could only use the identity of the ruler of the dynasty of Providence, or pray to heaven and earth to temporarily obtain the identity of an investiture executor. Then, one could use the heavenly book to become a god on behalf of heaven. Of these 2 points, only the last one was feasible for the golden python. In other words, if the remnant soul of the golden python prayed to heaven and earth and successfully obtained the identity of an investiture executor, it could successfully use the heavenly book's power of deification and forcefully deify Yi Chen. Although Yi Chen would refuse, he might not succeed. Even Yi Chen wasn't confident that he could succeed in deifying a god that was bestowed by the heavenly Tao in the real world. It was also for this reason that Yi Chen didn't want to give the remnant soul of the golden python a chance. To be precise, he didn't want to give the remnant soul of the golden python a chance to pray to heaven and earth and obtain the identity of an investiture executor. Even if the possibility of this happening was low, Yi Chen didn't want to take the risk. After all, after Yi Chen was deified, he would forever be controlled by the master of the heavenly book, which was also the remnant soul of the golden python that was currently hiding in the world of the heavenly book. How could Yi Chen possibly want to see such an outcome? The remnant soul of the golden python that was floating in midair looked at Yi Chen's primordial spirit that was rapidly charging toward it. Anger, hatred, resentment, and unbridled hostility exploded all of a sudden. In the next second, the remnant soul of the golden python rushed toward Yi Chen without hesitation and shouted sternly, "Ungrateful human! I'm going to make you a god of earth. You'll be trampled on by billions of living beings forever." In midair, Yi Chen, who was rapidly flying toward the remnant soul of the golden python, laughed coldly when he heard this. He didn't even know what the god of earth's primordial spirit was, and he still wanted to learn how to be deified. At this thought, Yi Chen's mind moved, and the innate treasure godslayer instantly appeared. At this moment, a mysterious and indescribable wave appeared out of thin air and directly enveloped Yi Chen. Sensing this, Yi Chen's expression immediately darkened. This mysterious aura was the god of earth's primordial spirit. Damn it! What's going on? Could it be that the golden python had prayed before, and it had King succeeded? No. If it had prayed and succeeded in obtaining the status of deification executor, it meant that it knew the prerequisites to using the heavenly book deification ability. In that case, the giant snake in this karst cave would definitely be deified by it. Moreover, it couldn't have asked me directly after I entered the world of the heavenly book. It should have directly deified me. That would have been the safest way. Could it be that the golden race had special privileges in this aspect? They didn't need to pray at all? Damn it, who cares if you have special privileges or not? You're dreaming if you want to trick me. At this thought, Yi Chen's primordial spirit directly looked at the remnant soul of the golden python and shouted, "Bastard, you're not qualified to deify me." As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, a violent pressure of the tribulation stage instantly erupted. Then, a 10-meter-tall fire suddenly ignited outside Yi Chen's primordial spirit with a boom. The instant the blazing flames appeared, the space around Yi Chen's primordial spirit started to distort as it crackled. This was the result of extreme heat. At the same time, it was also the result of Yi Chen's rage. Yi Chen had never expected that the golden python, which he thought had not grasped the correct way to use the heavenly book, would actually use the heavenly book to deify Yi Chen. This was somewhat beyond Yi Chen's expectations. However, although he was surprised, Yi Chen would not accept the primordial position of Earth, nor would he allow the remnant soul of the golden python to create this bullshit primordial position of Earth, to gather on his primordial spirit and then brand it. In the sky, the remnant soul of the golden python saw Yi Chen's actions and its eyes suddenly lit up. Then it roared with ecstasy. "Ha ha ha, so that's how it is! As long as I pull my soul into the heavenly book world, I can directly deify. Human, don't resist. Resistance is useless. Obediently accept the primordial position, and I will grant you eternal life." As soon as the golden python's words fell, a thunderous sound shook the entire heavenly book world. Boom, boom, boom. The raging fire around Yi Chen's primordial spirit suddenly emitted dense thick lightning, and then within the raging fire, it began to violently revolve. At this moment, a tyrannical, unreasonable, and brutal aura directly exploded from Yi Chen's primordial spirit. In the blink of an eye, an extremely dull explosion followed closely behind. Boom! layers of ripples suddenly exploded around Yi Chen's primordial spirit. These ripples were composed of raging fire, lightning, and inexplicable starlight. At this moment, the mysterious aura that had suddenly descended and then enveloped Yi Chen's primordial spirit directly disappeared without a trace. How is this possible? Didn't I succeed? Seeing this, the eyes of the golden python's remnant soul fiercely constricted, and then it cried out in alarm. In the air, Yi Chen, who had blown up the primordial position of Earth, heard this and gave a tyrannical laugh. Then, he opened his mouth and shouted, "Bastard! Die for this, daddy!" As soon as Yi Chen's words fell, the power of his primordial spirit instantly surged, and then it turned into a stream of light that disappeared in a flash. In the next second, Yi Chen directly appeared next to the golden python's remnant soul, and then he stretched out his left hand and grabbed the golden python's remnant soul. At the same time, there was a boom. Yi Chen's left hand, which was holding the golden python's remnant soul, suddenly burst into a raging fire, and then it began to burn the golden python's remnant soul mercilessly. Originally, Yi Chen had wanted to directly use the Godslayer to devour the golden python's remnant soul, but who would have thought that he would almost fall into the golden python's trap? How could Yi Chen not be angry? And there was only one outcome for Yi Chen's anger, and that was to burn the golden python's remnant soul alive and not let it die a quick death. The moment Yi Chen's left hand burst into a raging fire, a shrill and miserable howl sounded. The golden python's remnant soul kept struggling and twisting, trying to break free from the grasp of Yi Chen's left hand. But no matter how it moved, it was still caught by Yi Chen's left hand, and it could not break free at all. The raging fire continued, and the temperature was getting higher and higher. It burned the surrounding air until it was crackling. Along with the crackling sound, the golden python's remnant soul wailed miserably. Yi Chen looked at the struggling, twisting, and wailing golden python, and his violent mood immediately became much better. Damn it, when those evolvers come looking for trouble with me in the future, I won't let any of them off. If I find out where they are, I'll directly destroy their nest. At this moment, Yi Chen had a feeling that the so-called evolvers were relatives of the heavenly Tao, although the possibility of this was basically zero. After all, the heavenly Tao was the heavenly Tao, not a living thing. But this golden python's remnant soul could directly use the heavenly book's God-slaying ability. No matter how he looked at it, it was a gift from the heavenly Tao. Yi Chen's thinking in this direction was not wrong. This point might not be a problem for others, but for Yi Chen, it was different. It should be known that the golden python was a member of the evolvers, and Yi Chen had the mark of hatred of the evolvers. If Yi Chen did not take the evolvers seriously, he would most likely suffer a great loss from them. Just like just now, the golden python should not have used the heavenly book's God-slaying ability without praying, but F*King used it. Although it was an accident, this F*King accident was too easy. How could Yi Chen not take it seriously? After a cup of tea's time, the golden python's remnant soul directly turned into a cloud of green smoke in the raging fire in Yi Chen's left hand, and then dissipated into thin air. Seeing this, Yi Chen smiled coldly. Then, with a thought, he directly flew out of the heavenly book world. When Yi Chen's primordial spirit came out and returned to his body, he directly opened his eyes. Then, he once again forced out a drop of blood essence and dripped it on the heavenly book. The moment Yi Chen's blood essence touched the heavenly book, a red light immediately lit up. Then, one could see that Yi Chen's blood essence was directly absorbed by the heavenly book. At this moment, an extremely mysterious connection suddenly appeared between Yi Chen and the heavenly book. When Yi Chen sensed this connection, he let out a long breath. Although the process was somewhat complicated, the heavenly book truly belonged to him. In the future, in his samsara empire, the heavenly book would be the imperial edict. Chapter 762. Thinking of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Then, with a thought, the space in front of him instantly distorted. After taking a look at the distorted space, Yi Chen stepped into it and disappeared. In the real world, in the main hall of the Castellan's mansion in Samsara City, the space suddenly distorted. In the next second, a ball of golden light flew out of the distorted space. In the blink of an eye, the golden light dissipated and Guo Yi appeared in the hall. As soon as Guo Yi appeared, Flaming Tiger Yilin, who was in the main hall, couldn't help but be stunned. Then, she looked at Guo Yi and asked in confusion, "Something happened in that world?" Guo Yi had already used the two-world stone and could freely travel between the real world and the game world. However, Guo Yi wouldn't come to the real world unless there was something important. After all, there were still many things to deal with in the game world. Moreover, Samsara City in the real world was very safe at the moment. Now that Guo Yi had suddenly appeared, it was obvious that something had happened in the game world, and Yi Chen had to hurry back to deal with it. Otherwise, Guo Yi wouldn't have come to the real world personally. And Flaming Tiger Yilin, who knew a little about Yi Chen, was naturally aware of this. It was precisely because Flaming Tiger Yilin knew that she directly asked Guo Yi. When Guo Yi heard this, he was slightly stunned. Then, he hurriedly looked at Flaming Tiger Yilin and cupped his fist. "Greetings, Mississippi." Although Flaming Tiger Yilin was Yi Chen's spiritual pet, she was already recognized by Yi Chen as his younger sister. Knowing this, Guo Yi naturally wouldn't look at Flaming Tiger Yilin differently. Moreover, Guo Yi also knew what Flaming Tiger Yilin did in the real world. He also knew the Flaming Tiger Yilin's position in Yi Chen's heart. Therefore, no matter what Flaming Tiger Yilin's original form was, Guo Yi wouldn't look at Flaming Tiger Yilin differently. When Flaming Tiger Yilin heard this, she nodded and hurriedly asked, "Is it urgent?" "Yes, Mississippi." "Where did the Lord go? Did he say when he would return?" When Guo Yi heard this, he glanced at the empty diamond-level gaming capsule and nodded. When Yen Hu and Yi Lin heard Guo Yi's question, they shook their heads and said, "I don't know either." "Where did my brother go?" "I don't know when my brother will come back." "This is bad. If the Lord doesn't come back." Guo Yi's expression changed when he heard this. When Yen Hu and Yi Lin heard this, their brows immediately furrowed. "What's going on? If you need me to take action, I can go to that world right now. Nothing must happen to my brother's foundation and my sister's." Flaming Tiger Yilin had been following Yi Chen since the beginning. She had the deepest feelings for Yi Chen. Naturally, she didn't want to see anything happen to Yi Chen's territory. She also didn't want to see Yi Chen's women in danger. However, she still needed to stay in Samsara City in the real world and protect Yi Chen's physical body. If it wasn't absolutely necessary, she couldn't leave the real world. When Guo Yi heard this, he shook his head and said, "This matter is very troublesome. The matter this time is very troublesome." Even if young Miss went over, it would be just as Guo Yi said this. The space in the main hall of the city lord's mansion suddenly distorted. Then, they saw Yi Chen, who had been gone for a while, step out and appear here. Guo Yi, who had a worried expression, was overjoyed when he saw Yi Chen suddenly appear. He hurried forward and bowed to Yi Chen. "Greetings, Lord." When Yi Chen heard this, he was slightly stunned. Then, he looked at Guo Yi, who had suddenly appeared in the real world, and bowed to him. He asked, "Fengxiao, why are you so anxious?" "Lord, someone has attacked the reincarnation immortal city. At this moment, a ghost region has appeared in the reincarnation forest outside the reincarnation immortal city. The generals are leading their troops to encircle the ghost region. However, they are unable to kill the evil spirits and monsters in the ghost region. Please return quickly." Guo Yi hurriedly bowed and said. When Yi Chen heard this, his eyes widened and he asked in a deep voice, "Who did this? Also, are you sure that the soul-controlling tablet has lost its effect?" The soul-controlling tablet was a special building that Yi Chen had obtained long ago. It was used to suppress all evil spirits and remnant souls with negative emotions. Originally, the soul-controlling tablet should not have appeared in Samsara Immortal City. Even if someone had attacked Samsara Immortal City, it was unlikely that they would appear. After all, the soul-controlling tablet was powerful. However, Yi Chen had heard that a ghost realm had appeared in Samsara Immortal City. Moreover, the army of Samsara Immortal City was unable to kill it even with the enchanted, magic treasures and spiritual weapons. How could Yi Chen not find it strange? When Guo Yi heard Yi Chen's question, he did not dare to delay. He hurriedly bowed and said, "Lord, we have not found out who did this for the time being." The soul-controlling tablet did not work as it should. Moreover, with the eyes of ghosts and deities, it seems that the soul-controlling tablet has strengthened the evil spirits in the ghost realm. The soul-controlling tablet, which was specially used to suppress evil spirits, did not kill the ghost realm. Instead, it strengthened the ghost realm. How could this be? When he thought of this, Yi Chen frowned. Yi Chen did not suspect that Guo Yi was lying. He just could not figure out what Guo Yi had said. After all, this result was simply too inconceivable. Just as Yi Chen's face was gloomy and he was thinking about the reason, Guo Yi glanced at Yi Chen carefully and then bowed to Yi Chen. "Lord, the evil spirits in the ghost realm are getting stronger and stronger. Why don't we bring the matriarchs to this world?" When Yi Chen heard this, his eyes suddenly widened. He hurriedly looked at Guo Yi and asked, "Feng Shao, you mean Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Mei and the others have joined the battle?" When Guo Yi heard this, he nodded and then bowed and said, "Yes, Lord. Because the ghost realm appeared in the Samsara forest, which belongs to your territory, the Bronze Sparrow Terraces, stop the war effect did not work." After the matriarchs realized this, they followed the army out of the city and joined the battle. When Yi Chen heard Guo Yi's affirmative answer, his heart skipped a beat. It was definitely abnormal that Zhao Yun, Guan Er, Dian Xiong, and the rest of the Samsara Immortal City's army could not take down the ghost realm. Moreover, the women had joined the battle. How could Yi Chen not be worried? Just at that moment, Yen Hu and Yi Lin, who were on the side, suddenly made some sort of decision. After that, they directly went to Yi Chen's side and said with incomparable seriousness, "Brother, I'm going to devour all those evil spirits and monsters." Flaming Tiger Yi Lin was a flaming tiger, a member of the tiger tribe. Naturally, she had the ability to control ghosts. Of course, these ghosts referred to the starved ghosts and helped the tiger do evil. They were ghosts that were eaten by tigers and turned into ghosts. Now, Flaming Tiger Yi Lin said that she wanted to go to the game world and devour all the evil spirits in the ghost realm that suddenly appeared in the Samsara Immortal City. Naturally, she wanted to solve the problem for Yi Chen. Yi Chen naturally understood this point. Although it warmed his heart, Yi Chen would not let Flaming Tiger Yi Lin do this. One must know that the appearance of the ghost realm was too bizarre. Moreover, the evil spirits inside were too special. If Yi Chen really let Flaming Tiger Yi Lin devour the evil spirits in the ghost realm, there was a high chance that Flaming Tiger Yi Lin would be seriously injured or even lose her life. This was not the result that Yi Chen wanted to see. Thinking of this, Yi Chen shook his head. Then, he patted Flaming Tiger Yi Lin's head and said, "No need. It's just some evil spirits. If ordinary means can't deal with them, then we'll use extraordinary means." Yi Chen had many abilities and many treasures. Even if the ghost realm was really bizarre, even if the soul-controlling tablet really strengthened the ghost realm so that the evil spirits in the ghost realm were not afraid of runes and restraining power, there was a certain limit. After all, ghosts were ghosts. No matter how bizarre they could not be so bizarre that they were invincible and fearless of everything. Yi Chen was very sure about this. Moreover, Yi Chen also had a way to deal with the evil spirits in the ghost realm. For example, the Netherworld Fire Bomb, the Red Lotus Hellfire, and the Hellfire Red Thunder. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, two words suddenly burst out of his mind. Reversing heaven and earth, reversing yin and yang. Wait. This was 8 trigrams formation. Damn it. It must be like this. Otherwise, how could the soul-controlling tablet fail? How could the evil spirits in the ghost realm not be killed? Crouching Dragon. You've got guts. Chapter 763. At the thought of this, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. A violent killing intent instantly rose and shot into the sky. At this moment, the temperature in Reincarnation City dropped to 0 degrees. Dark clouds billowed in the sky 10,000 meters above, and then snowflakes fell from the sky. When an expert was angry, heaven and earth would change color, and the sun and moon would lose their light. This was a change in heaven and earth. Of course, this was not important. What was important was the result. Yi Chen would never have thought that the sudden change in Reincarnation Immortal City was caused by Liang Fulong, who was known as the Hidden Dragon in the Three Kingdoms Newbie area. If it were not for Liang Fulong, or more accurately, the 8 trigrams formation that Liang Fulong had created, the soul-controlling tablet in Reincarnation Immortal City would have been able to suppress and kill all evil spirit. It would not have been like this, where the power of yin and yang reversed and forcibly changed its attribute. Instead of suppressing and killing evil spirits, it began to strengthen them. As for the possibility that Yi Chen had made a mistake in his judgment, that was impossible. This was because Liang Fulong was the only one in the Three Kingdoms Newbie area who knew the 8 trigrams formation. It could be said that if it were not for Liang Fulong, such a change would not have happened in Reincarnation Immortal City. As for why Liang Fulong wanted to scheme against Yi Chen and Reincarnation Immortal City, Yi Chen already had a judgment. To be more precise, the root of all this was Huang Weiner. One had to know that in the history of the Three Kingdoms, Huang Weiner was ultimately married to Liang Fulong. If Liang Fulong knew the correct history, he would most likely bear a grudge against Yi Chen. In this way, it was not difficult to understand why Liang Fulong wanted to take revenge on Yi Chen. And this was also the reason why Yi Chen was furious. After all, history was history. The Three Kingdoms Newbie area was equivalent to a new beginning. Moreover, Huang Weiner had already become Yi Chen's woman. Yet, Liang Fulong wanted to attack Yi Chen because of this. How could Yi Chen not be angry? At first glance, Liang Fulong's behavior did not match his character. Moreover, he could not possibly know the history of the Three Kingdoms. After all, the system did not allow players to privately tell the natives the history of the Three Kingdoms. However, one mustn't forget that the reason why Liang Fulong was known as the Hidden Dragon was because of his super-strong abilities. Moreover, in the Three Kingdoms Novice region, there was a tool called the Two-World Stone. If the players found Liang Fulong and gave him the Two-World Stone, Liang Fulong would be able to travel to the real world. In the real world, the game system didn't restrict the players that much. Therefore, as long as Liang Fulong was found by the players and brought to the real world, Liang Fulong would most likely know the history of the Three Kingdoms and his own fate. This way, Liang Fulong would have a very high chance of doing something unexpected. If the players were to join in and bewitch Liang Fulong, the chances of him doing something unexpected would be even higher. This was because such a bright Fulong was already an uncontrollable bright Fulong. This was similar to Lu Xie rebelling against fate. If it weren't for Yi Chen's timely discovery, then the Three Kingdoms Beginners District would have been completely destroyed by Lu Xie. One must know that anyone who knew their own fate wouldn't be willing to follow the predetermined path and walk it all over again. Even Lu Xie wasn't willing, so how could Liang Fulong, who was as intelligent as a demon, be willing? No matter what your motive was, if you offend me, you have to die. Thinking of this, Yi Chen narrowed his eyes, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. In the next second, Yi Chen looked directly at Flaming Tiger Yi Lin and said, "Yi Lin, when those blacksmiths reach the mortal evolution state, let them start refining spirit artifacts." After Yi Chen finished speaking, he waved his right hand, and 3 mountains of materials that hadn't reached the immortal grade appeared out of thin air on the street outside the City Lord Manor. When Flaming Tiger Yilin heard this, she glanced outside the door and saw the mountains of materials that were a few hundred meters tall. Then, she nodded heavily and replied, "Okay, brother. Okay, brother, I'll remember it." Flaming Tiger Yilin looked directly at Yi Chen and continued, "Brother Yi Chen, I'll remember it. Brother, if the ghost realm is very troublesome, I can handle it. There's no troublesome problem. Moreover, I already know who did it. It's not difficult to deal with him. Just focus on guarding Samsara City." When Yi Chen heard this, he couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. Then, he patted Flaming Tiger Yilin's little head and chuckled. When Flaming Tiger Yilin heard this, she immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Then, she hugged Yi Chen tightly and said, "It's best if Brother Yi Chen can handle it. If you can't, Yilin isn't afraid of death. Brother, you must remember this." "Okay, I'll remember it." When Yi Chen heard this, he took a deep look at Yilin and said. Then, he patted Yilin's back gently, indicating for her to be at ease. Then, he looked directly at Guo Yi and said, "Fengxiao, let's go back." "Yes, Lord." Guo Yi, who had already sensed Yi Chen's relaxed and angry tone, hurriedly bowed and saluted loudly. When Yi Chen heard this, he nodded and headed straight for the Diamond Grade Gaming Chamber. When Yi Chen reached the Diamond Grade Gaming Chamber, he suddenly remembered something and stopped. Then, he looked at Flaming Tiger Yilin and said, "Yilin, within 100 miles of Samsara City, no matter who it is, as long as they don't listen to my advice and insist on trespassing, kill them without mercy." Yi Chen gave this order to prevent players with powerful items from barging into Samsara City and using them randomly. For example, items such as the geomagnetic lightning bomb and the netherworld fire bomb were powerful items. If someone really came to Samsara City with such powerful items and used them on Samsara City, it would be a big joke. Yi Chen didn't want to see such an outcome. When Yilin heard this, she hurriedly nodded. However, before she could say anything, Yi Chen thought of something else and continued, "By the way, if you see any beasts that are completely golden or abnormal come to Samsara City, don't hesitate to kill them. Their flesh is good stuff, you can eat as much as you want." Yi Chen had attracted the hatred mark of the Evolvers because he killed the golden python. With this hatred mark on him, Yi Chen would definitely attract the Evolvers' revenge. Of course, Yi Chen wasn't worried or afraid. At this moment, no matter how special the Evolvers were and how blessed they were by the heavens, their realm couldn't be very high. If they really came to Samsara City, it would be exactly what Yi Chen wanted. After all, the Flaming Tiger Yilin had already become a divine beast and reached the Purple Mansion realm. With the Flaming Tiger Yilin around, no matter how many Evolvers came, they would be nothing more than food. Yi Chen could use the flesh of the Evolvers to strengthen his army. He could also let the Flaming Tiger Yilin, the treasure hunter fish Yi Xiaoyu, and the others have a taste of the Evolvers' flesh and blood. It was also for this reason that Yi Chen specifically told the Flaming Tiger Yilin about this. His purpose was naturally to prevent the Flaming Tiger Yilin from letting any Evolvers who came for revenge escape. "Yes, Big Brother." The Flaming Tiger Yilin was slightly stunned when she heard this. Then, she hurriedly nodded in response. When Yi Chen heard this, he smiled slightly and directly stepped into the Diamond Grade Game Chamber. When Yi Chen lay down, the door of the Diamond Game Chamber automatically closed. At the same time, Yi Chen directly entered the game world. When Guo Yi saw this, he hurriedly used his mind to turn into a ball of golden light and disappeared. In the game world, in the beginner's area of the Three Kingdoms, in the main hall of the Samsara Immortal City's City Lord's residence, a pillar of light suddenly appeared. Then Yi Chen, who had left for a long time, directly appeared here. When the golden light dissipated, Yi Chen opened his eyes. At this moment, waves of earth-shattering battle cries traveled to Yi Chen's ears. When Yi Chen heard the battle cries of the soldiers, his eyes suddenly opened wide. Then, his primordial spirit moved and a huge divine sense was instantly released. In an instant it enveloped the Samsara immortal city. In the next second Yi Chen took a step forward and disappeared. The 2-kilometer radius of the Samsara forest was filled with ghostly qi and black gas. At this moment Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Su Chu, and the other generals were leading the Samsara immortal city's army to fight against the evil spirits that were constantly rushing out from the black area. In the sky, arrows covered the sky and the sun. On the ground, long spears formed a forest. The unique golden light of the exorcism talisman shone continuously. On the opposite side, the evil spirits that were rushing out from the realm of ghosts were like a continuous tide. At the Samsara immortal city's camp, the soldiers continuously waved their weapons that were enchanted with the exorcism talisman in their hands to kill the evil spirits that were constantly charging towards the Samsara valley. However, every time the evil spirit was killed, it would turn into a cloud of black gas and fly back to the ghost realm. In less than 3 seconds, it would appear again with a stronger strength. Then, it would charge toward the army of the reincarnation immortal city again. During this time, powerful evil spirits would appear from time to time and directly charge towards the Samsara immortal city's army. Every time this situation occurred, Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier, Huang Waner Mizhen, and the 5 Jin sisters who were floating in the air would attack together and kill them on the spot. However, none of the soldiers of the reincarnation immortal city, Yi Chen's subordinates, or his women showed any signs of fear. None of them stepped back even if they were injured by the evil spirits. None of them showed any signs of fear. None of them stepped back even if they were injured by the evil spirits. Dense killing intent, eerie ghostly qi, stubborn willpower, greedy desire, battle cries, and ghostly howls constantly intertwined and collided violently. This was the scene that was playing out in the Samsara forest at this moment. At this moment, the space above the Samsara immortal city's army suddenly twisted. Then, Yi Chen took a step forward and appeared there. Following Yi Chen's appearance, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, and the other generals, as well as Yi Chen's women, looked at Yi Chen with an excited expression. At this moment, a soldier at the back of the Samsara immortal city's army saw Yi Chen. After being stunned for a while, he shouted with great joy, "Master! Master, you are back!" As he shouted, more and more soldiers noticed Yi Chen. In the next second, an earth-shattering roar was heard from the ground. "Greetings, Master!" Chapter 764. After the million soldiers roared in unison, Zhao Yunjing, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Zhang Liao, and the other generals waved their weapons in unison, instantly wiping out a large portion of the evil spirit army in front of them. In the next second, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Zhang Liao, and other generals bowed to Yi Chen and said loudly, "Greetings, Lord." At the same time, Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier Mizhen, Huang Waner and Zhen Jusei shouted to Yi Chen in unison, "Husband." Hearing this, Yi Chen nodded to his subordinates, and then looked at Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier, Huang Waner Mizhen, and Zhen Jusei and said, "Thank you for your hard work. Husband, this is what we should do." Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier, Huang Waner Mizhen, and Zhen Jusei smiled and said sweetly after hearing Yi Chen's words, which were full of concern and gratitude. Hearing this, Yi Chen's heart suddenly felt warm. These women were willing to give up everything for Yi Chen and protect everything for Yi Chen. Moreover, it was the kind that came from the bottom of their hearts. How could Yi Chen not feel it? It was also because of this that Yi Chen was so moved. Looking at the smiling faces of the girls, whose eyes were filled with tenderness, Yi Chen tried his best to calm his racing heart and then said softly, "You go back to the city lord's mansion first, I'll stay here." "Yes, husband." Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier, Huang Wan'er Mi Zhen, and Jin Ju Sei looked at each other, and then nodded in unison. Before Yi Chen came back, the women didn't know how to destroy the ghost realm. They didn't even know if the reincarnation immortal city could win without Yi Chen. But now, the thoughts of the women were completely different from before. To be more precise, the women firmly believed that the reincarnation immortal city would surely destroy the ghost domain that had appeared out of nowhere. It was because their husband, the ruler of reincarnation immortal city, Yu of Beech of the Great Han Empire, the strongest existence in the world, Yi Chen, had returned. After the girls finished speaking, they left the battlefield and flew toward the reincarnation immortal city. Watching the girls leave, Yi Chen let out a long sigh. Then, he was stunned. Wait a minute. Why weren't Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier, and the others sealed by the heavenly Tao in the Three Kingdoms novice zone? Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier Mi Zhen, Huang Wan'er and Jin Ju Sei had already reached the mortal evolution state, but they didn't obtain the identity of Heavenly General. Thus, their power should be sealed by the Heavenly Tao in the novice region of the Three Kingdoms. But now, what did Yi Chen see? The girls were actually flying in the void. Clearly, this wasn't something that could happen after being sealed. Thinking of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but look at the girls again. Then, he saw a layer of 5-colored light that had just appeared and disappeared around them. At this moment, Yi Chen felt that his cultivation, lifespan, and even the Khanate spirit treasures and Khanate cardinal treasures were about to be cut off and taken away. Sensing this abnormality, Yi Chen was stunned. This was 5-colored divine light. That's right, it was the 5-colored divine light. Thinking of this, Yi Chen was stunned. 5-colored divine light, it was actually the 5-colored divine light. Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier Mi Zhen, Huang Wan'er and Jin Ju Sei actually had the 5-colored divine light. How was this possible? The 5-colored divine light was the natural god art of the powerful being of the primordial world, Kong Xian. It was divided into 5 colors: green, yellow, red, black, and white. Once the god art was used, except for special existences, everything in the world would be affected. It could be said that the 5-colored divine light was extremely perverse. Even the treasure fall money couldn't compare to it. Originally, this was Kong Xian's exclusive natural god art. Even if others learned it, they wouldn't be able to learn it. But now, what did Yi Chen see? The 5-colored divine light actually appeared on Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier, Huang Wan'er Mi Zhen, and Jin Ju Sei. Although the 5-colored divine light on them had just been revealed, it was the genuine 5-colored divine light. Yi Chen was very sure about this. Moreover, Yi Chen didn't think that his judgment was wrong. One had to know that in Yi Chen's previous life, he had seen Kong Xian's 5-colored divine light display with his own eyes. Moreover, the most important thing was that when the 5-colored divine light appeared on the girls, Yi Chen felt an extremely mysterious power. That extremely mysterious power was exactly the same as the fluctuations that appeared when the 5-colored divine light displayed its power. Therefore, there was simply no possibility of mistaken identity. And this was also the reason why Yi Chen was puzzled. One had to know that the 5-colored divine light was Kong Xian's natural god art. But now, it just happened to appear on Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier Mi Zhen, Huang Wan'er and Jin Ju Sei. How could Yi Chen not be puzzled? Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, and Kai Meier could be exempted from the seal. It should be related to the 5-colored divine light, but what the F***ck is going on here? If Yi Chen knew the reason why the girls obtained the 5-colored divine light, he wouldn't be worried. But the problem was that Yi Chen didn't know. This was what worried Yi Chen the most. One had to know that the 5-colored divine light was Kong Xian's natural god art. If the girls obtained the 5-colored divine light for no reason, they would definitely have karma with Kong Xian. If the karma belonged to the good side, it was nothing. Yi Chen was happy to see it happen. After all, it was very likely that Kong Xian would stand on the side of reincarnation, Immortal City. If the karma belonged to the bad side, then the girls would be in danger. After all, Kong Xian was extremely proud and wouldn't allow others to obtain the five-colored divine light. In this way, Kong Xian would definitely stand on the opposite side of reincarnation, Immortal City. Of course, Yi Chen would definitely not be afraid because of this. After Yi Chen ascended to Untainted Land, his opponents were Hong Jun, Yang Mei, and Yuan Shi. Any one of these three could kill Kong Xian. Yi Chen wasn't even afraid of them, so how could he be afraid of Kong Xian? But the problem was that Kong Xian was too special. His five-colored divine light could sweep through everything in the world. In addition, he was extremely fast. If he really went up against Yi Chen would definitely have a headache. Damn it, no matter what the reason was, after he dealt with Liang Fulong, he would tell Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Mei and the others to refine the five-colored divine light with all their might. They would turn it into their own god art and completely control it. Yi Chen couldn't figure out the reason why the girls obtained the five-colored divine light, so he simply stopped thinking about it. It didn't matter if the result was good or bad. To put it simply, he would deal with whatever came his way. It was that simple. After thinking about it, he might as well let the girls completely control the five-colored divine light. In this way, after the girls ascended to Untainted Land with Yi Chen, they would really be heaven-defying once they rose. And Yi Chen naturally liked the fact that the girls were heaven-defying. As for the fact that the five-colored divine light might attract Kong Xian's revenge, so what? At most, he would just not let them use the five-colored divine light in the beginning. As long as they could avoid the weak period, after ascending to Untainted Land, Yi Chen could do whatever he wanted. He could do whoever he wanted. There was nothing to worry about. At the thought of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. At this moment, the five-colored divine light on the girls flying towards reincarnation Immortal City suddenly shone brightly and was absorbed by the girls. At the same time, the system's notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen, Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Mei, Huang Waner Mi Zhen, Zhu Jiesa, Zhen Jiang, Zhen Tua, Zhen Dao, and Zhen Rong for successfully comprehending the hidden special effect of the Copper Sparrow Pavilion, five-colored divine light. Ding! Special storyline, five-colored divine light has been automatically activated. Player Yi Chen must defeat Kong Xian before the investiture god battle begins. Otherwise, Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Mei, Huang Waner Mi Zhen, Zhu Jiesa, Zhen Jiang, Zhen Tua, Zhen Dao, and Zhen Rong's souls will be destroyed. If player Yi Chen successfully defeats Kong Xian, he will automatically obtain the Destiny Mystique, five-colored divine light. Chapter 765. Yi Chen was stunned by the series of system notifications. Holy shit! The Copper Sparrow Terrace had such an ability? The Copper Sparrow Terrace was a unique building that Yi Chen had obtained a long time ago. Its function was to increase the blessings, stability, and prosperity of the territory. It could also increase the fate of the territory. Of course, these were only the basic functions of the Copper Sparrow Terrace. The most important thing was its special characteristic. For example, the first characteristic, Song and Dance of Peace, could greatly increase the respawn rate of refugees in Yi Chen's territory. As for the war-stopping characteristic, it could allow Yi Chen's territory to be immune to all attacks for 3 days. In addition to these two characteristics, the Copper Sparrow Terrace also had the Battle Song and Resurrection characteristic. The Battle Song could greatly increase the combat power of Yi Chen's soldiers, while the Resurrection could defy the heavens and change the fate of those who had died in battle. Of course, in order to unleash the Copper Sparrow Terrace's special characteristics, there had to be a sufficient number of beautiful women living in it. Otherwise, the Copper Sparrow Terrace's special characteristics could not be unleashed. This was also one of the reasons why Yi Chen was collecting beautiful women recognized by the system. After all, the copper sparrow terrace's ability was obvious. Whether it was from the perspective of personal needs, or from the perspective of the practicality of the copper sparrow terrace, Yi Chen would continue to collect beautiful women, even in the eldritch world. This was because only with enough beautiful women could the copper sparrow terrace's special characteristics be unleashed. However, the problem was that the five-colored divine light was not among the copper sparrow terrace's special characteristics. But now it had appeared, and it was a hidden special effect. How could Yi Chen not be surprised? It was impossible. This was a good thing, but the copper sparrow terrace was a unique building in the mortal world. How could it have such an ability, eh? Wait. The Immortal City Advancement Order. Holy shit. It must be because of the Immortal City Advancement Order. When Yi Chen first obtained the Immortal City Advancement Order, he used it directly to upgrade Samsara City to Samsara Immortal City. However, what Yi Chen did not expect was that the Supreme Grade, and the only Immortal City Promotion Order, would lead to a series of changes. For example, the Reincarnation Valley, the mountains surrounding it, and the entire Reincarnation Forest were now part of the territory of the Reincarnation Immortal City. Not only were the trees, plants, rocks, and soil of the Reincarnation Immortal City upgraded to immortal level, they had even merged with the Reincarnation Immortal City and flew into the sky. Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was the changes caused by the Immortal City Advancement Order. To be more precise, even the ordinary rocks, soil, flowers, and trees had been upgraded. There was no reason why the buildings that originally belonged to Samsara City could not be upgraded. In this way, the Copper Sparrow Pavilion, which was already very abnormal, would definitely become even more abnormal under the enhancement of the Supreme Grade Immortal City Advancement Order. Damn it, that must be it, otherwise, how could a building in the mortal world emit the five-colored divine light? That's right, there was also the soul-suppressing tablet. If the soul-suppressing tablet had not been upgraded and surpassed its original quality, it would not have been able to gather the remnant souls of the enemies killed by the Reincarnation Immortal City's army and wreak havoc in the Reincarnation Forest just by relying on Liang Fulong's 8 trigrams formation's ability to reverse heaven and earth and reverse yin and yang. After being killed on the battlefield, there would always be many remnant souls that would appear. Then, due to their unwillingness, reluctance, or hatred, they would harass the people who killed them. If one did not pay attention to this, as time passed, more and more remnant souls would harass the soldiers. After a certain point, a large amount of the soldiers' yang energy would be sucked away. Then, they would be plagued with diseases and their souls would finally return to the underworld. It was also because of this that Yi Chen immediately built the soul-suppressing tablet after obtaining it. After all, Yi Chen did not want his soldiers to be harassed by the remnant souls. However, this was the problem. Liang Fulong attacked Yi Chen and used his special ability, the 8 trigrams formation. It directly reversed heaven and earth, and reversed yin and yang, causing the soul-suppressing tablet, which was supposed to kill evil spirits, to strengthen them. If the soul-suppressing tablet had not been upgraded, Liang Fulong would not have succeeded even if he had hundreds of attempts. It should be known that reversing heaven and earth, and reversing yin and yang might seem impressive, but no matter how much it was reversed, there was still a limit. It was impossible to turn the remnant soul into an invincible existence. Even if the remnant souls were under the 8 trigrams formations, reversing yin and yang and reversing heaven and earth, they were not afraid of sunlight or the power that restrained them, it was still the same. As long as there was a super strong power, it would be able to kill the remnant soul. There was no doubt about this. And the exorcism, talisman from the Chaos Talisman, was the primer for this super strong power. It should be known that even zombies as strong as the Preqin Meng Tian were killed by the exorcism talisman. How could the remnant soul resist it? But the problem was that the soul-suppressing tablet had been upgraded under the effect of the Supreme Immortal City upgrade order, and it was the kind of upgrade that turned the world upside down. In this way, the soul-suppressing tablet's ability to kill evil spirits would definitely be increased by thousands or even tens of thousands of times. And under the 8 trigrams formations, reversing heaven and earth, and reversing yin and yang characteristics, the soul-suppressing tablet's ability to kill evil spirits would be enhanced after it was strengthened. In other words, the evil spirits that followed the soldiers back to the reincarnation immortal city were directly strengthened by thousands or even tens of thousands of times. Coupled with the fearless attribute of restraining power, even the powerful exorcism talisman might not be effective. This was also the truth. Otherwise, how could the Tsutsu ghost region be still expanding? And the evil spirits within were also getting stronger and stronger. No matter how they were killed, they could not be killed. After figuring out the cause and effect, the corners of Yi Chen's mouth could not help but twitch. Damn it, this was really a little speechless, but at least the Copper Sparrow Pavilion and the soul-suppressing tablet had been upgraded. Moreover, Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Mer Mi Zhen, Huang Wan'er, and the 5 Zhen sisters had obtained the 5-colored divine light. This was the biggest gain. At the thought of this, Yi Chen could not help but raise his eyebrows. Then, he looked at the tide of evil spirits that were still madly charging toward the reincarnation immortal city's army. In the next second, Yi Chen raised his right hand, and a huge hand that covered the sky appeared out of thin air. At this moment, the violent aura of a tribulation stage cultivator exploded. Then, the clouds in the sky started to boil, and then crazily scattered in all directions. At the same time, an earth-shaking roar was heard. Boom! The sound was as dull as a drum, but it shook the heavens and the earth continuously. The sudden change attracted the attention of all the soldiers on the ground, as well as the evil spirits. At this moment, the reincarnation immortal city's army was excited, and their morale was high. The army of evil spirits, however, let out an extremely sharp roar at the same time. Bang! The sound was like needles, piercing the eardrums and buzzing. Even their souls started to feel pain. Seeing the large group of soldiers on the ground suffering because of the roar of the army of evil spirits, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. He then looked at the ghost region that was surging with ghost chi and shouted, "Go to hell!" As soon as he finished speaking, a sea of fire appeared. A sea of fire that covered the entire ghost region appeared in the palm of the huge hand. At the same time, the huge hand that covered the sky slammed down from the sky. Chapter 766. Boom! The air around the giant palm was instantly shaken by the huge force and then exploded. At the same time, visible ripples exploded in the sky in the blink of an eye and then surged out. On the ground, the evil spirit army that was as dense as a tide shuddered when they saw the gigantic hand that was rapidly descending from the sky. At this moment, the feeling of death involuntarily appeared in the hearts of all the evil spirits. At this moment, all the evil spirits were stunned. At this moment, the army of evil spirits forgot to charge and scream. Then, they all stared at the giant palm that was rapidly descending with a sea of fire in its palm. They were puzzled and even confused because they did not know why their souls would suddenly feel the feeling of death. It should be known that they were now invincible. Those forces that had once restrained them could no longer kill them. Even if they were temporarily defeated, they would return to the ghost realm and recover, and then become even stronger. But now they felt death. Moreover, it was the kind of death that was complete. As doubts arose, the army of evil spirits let out an extremely sharp screech. Screech! Because they did not believe it, because they were afraid, because they were angry and unwilling to accept it. They did not believe that they would really die. They were afraid of death, and were even angrier because of this sudden feeling of death. They were unwilling to accept that they would really be destroyed. Therefore, they released their strongest attack, a soul attack. The target was the giant palm that was rapidly descending and covered the sea of fire in the sky. As the army of evil spirits roared, the ghost aura in the ghost realm boiled and then spun rapidly. In the blink of an eye, a pitch-black and incomparably huge ghost claw appeared in the ghost realm. In the next second, the incomparably huge ghost claw directly shot up into the sky and then met the giant palm that was rapidly descending. At this moment, a chilly wind blew wildly and the temperature in the world dropped rapidly. In the army of reincarnation Immortal City, Yi Chen, who was floating in the air, saw this and smiled coldly. An ant trying to shake a tree. Ridiculous! Just as Yi Chen finished thinking, the giant palm that covered the sky with a sea of fire in its palm instantly hit the pitch-black ghost claw that shot up into the sky. In the next second, an earth-shaking explosion suddenly sounded. Boom! The endless sea of fire in the center of the giant palm instantly ignited the black ghost claw formed by the evil spirit army. In the blink of an eye, the blood-red ghost claw that had been ignited directly exploded in mid-air, and blood-red fireballs splashed all over the sky. In the next second, the sputtering fireballs directly bloomed and turned into blood-red lotuses that fell to the ground. If there were any existences in the desolate world, they would immediately exclaim upon seeing the blood-red lotuses that filled the sky. Red lotus fire. That's right, it was the red lotus karmic fire, the red lotus karmic fire that used evil karma as fuel to burn everything. The army of evil spirits had become much stronger under the effects of the 8 trigrams formations, reversal of heaven and earth, reversal of yin and yang. They were not even afraid of the exorcism runes anymore, but so what? No matter how the evil spirit army changed, it could not change their nature. As such, they were destined to be unable to resist the burning of the red lotus karmic fire, one of the 10 great flames of the great desolate Aeon. That was the truth. The seemingly incomparably ferocious ghost claw was detonated in a single exchange. As the pitch-black ghost claw was ignited, the evil spirits in the army of evil spirits were instantly in an uproar. How is this possible? I don't believe it. Why is this happening? We are already invincible. I don't want to die again, I want revenge. Revenge. That feeling is real. We will really be killed again. Run. Run quickly. Just as the evil spirits were talking amongst themselves, they quickly came to the same decision. Just as they were about to flee, they were all stunned. Then, they heard noisy cries of surprise, sounding out in waves. I can't move. I can't move either. Come and help me, I don't want to die. In the reincarnation Immortal City, Yi Chen curled his lips in disdain when he saw the army of evil spirits that had sensed that something was wrong and wanted to run away. How dare you make use of the east wind, to create trouble in my reincarnation Immortal City, and you still want to run away? Dream on. If Yi Chen wanted to kill the evil spirits, he could release the red lotus karmic fire directly. However, this might allow some evil spirits to escape successfully. Although Yi Chen had refined the red lotus karmic fire, the amount of red lotus karmic fire that Yi Chen could release at one time was not enough to cover the entire ghost region. Although the red lotus karmic fire would grow stronger by burning the evil spirits, it would only grow stronger and not cover them directly. In this way, the evil spirits that sensed danger would most likely run away directly. This was not the result that Yi Chen wanted to see. If not for this reason, Yi Chen would not have used his dermic powers at the beginning to condense the heaven and earth spiritual energy to form the giant palm. Then, he used the fire spiritual pearl's ability to control the flames to create a sea of fire in the palm of the giant palm. At the same time, he infused the power of the red lotus karmic fire into the sea of fire. That was because that would make all of the evil spirits feel extreme danger. Then, it would cause them to fight back. After all, they had already lost their sense of invincibility. Thus, when the giant palm appeared, their first reaction would be to fight back and not to escape. Once they fought back against Yi Chen, they would be locked down by Yi Chen's divine senses. Then, they would not be able to escape. Of course, this was also the idea that Yi Chen came up with when he released his divine senses when he returned to the game world. However, he could only see the evil spirit army and could not lock down the evil spirit army with his divine senses. Under normal circumstances, Yi Chen could lock down all the evil spirits and throw out a ball of red lotus karmic fire. Then, everything would be over. However, the problem was that the ghost region in the reincarnation forest had appeared because of Liang Fulong's 8 trigrams formation. Moreover, the attributes of the evil spirits had changed under the radiation of the 8 trigrams formation. Otherwise, Yi Chen would not have purposely led the evil spirit army to attack the giant palm. After all, this was the only way Yi Chen could make use of the attack rules in the game world to lock down all the evil spirits. Just as Yi Chen finished thinking, the giant palm that covered the sky slammed into the ghost region along with a sea of fire. Boom! The earth trembled and the sky rumbled. At this moment, the eerie ghost region that was filled with black smoke was instantly scattered. Then, with a boom, it burst into flames. In the next second, the giant palm dissipated. An enormous blood-red flame appeared in the ghost region and quickly bloomed. At the same time, an incomparably dense explosion sound rang out one after another. Boom, boom, boom. The evil spirits that were enveloped by the blood-red red lotus karmic fire were no longer as invincible as before. In the blink of an eye, they were burned into nothingness by the red lotus karmic fire. Then, they turned into nutrients for the red lotus karmic fire and rapidly strengthened the red lotus karmic fire. No. I don't want to die again. Let me go. I was wrong. I don't want to die. The evil spirits that had not died yet but could not move at all screamed in horror as they watched the blood-red lotus flower that was expanding. However, no matter how they screamed and how terrified they were, the blood-red lotus flower continued to bloom. Then, it expanded again and again, incinerating the evil spirits into nutrients for the blood-red lotus flower. In the army of the reincarnation immortal city, Yi Chen's generals and soldiers raised their spears excitedly and roared at the top of their lungs. "My lord, victory! Victory! Victory!" Chapter 767. Over 1,000,000 soldiers of the reincarnation immortal city shouted loudly, their voices shaking the sky. In the sky, Yi Chen smiled when he heard the excited and even worshipful words of his subordinate. Then, he looked at the remaining evil spirit army. First, he would kill these remnant souls that had been transformed by the 8 trigrams formation. Then, he would find Liang Fulong and kill him. Yi Chen liked to collect historical generals and historical officials, especially those who were top-notch. Liang Fulong was a top-notch historical official. If it were someone else, they might give up Huang Weiner and seek Liang Fulong's loyalty. However, Yi Chen would not make such a choice. This was because Yi Chen was not the kind of person who would give up his woman for some benefit. Even if obtaining Liang Fulong's loyalty would make it easier for Yi Chen to conquer the world after his country ascended, Yi Chen would not give up Huang Weiner. This was because Liang Fulong was not worthy. It was also because Liang Fulong's starting point was wrong. If Liang Fulong had a feud with Yi Chen purely and not because of Huang Weiner, Yi Chen might have chosen to defeat Liang Fulong and subdue him. However, this was not the case at all. Liang Fulong knew about the trajectory of his destiny and knew that Huang Weiner was his historical wife. Therefore, he chose to attack Yi Chen. At first glance, it was pardonable. However, although this was the Three Kingdoms Beginners District and the real world, everything had started anew. To be more precise, the history of the Three Kingdoms Beginners District was changeable. However, Liang Fulong had become enemies with Yi Chen because of his past history. In Yi Chen's opinion, this was an unforgivable thing. As for Yi Chen, there was only one way to deal with Liang Fulong's actions. He would kill him without the slightest hesitation and destroy his spiritual consciousness. Thinking of this, Yi Chen narrowed his eyes and a cold glint flashed across them. At this moment, a gust of wind blew over, causing the trees in the reincarnation forest to sway. The screams of the remaining evil spirits could be heard, and the gigantic blood-red lotus flower that was completely formed by the red lotus hellfire was blown away. At this moment, the speed at which the blood-colored lotus devoured and burned the evil spirits into nothingness began to soar. After 10 minutes, the remaining evil spirits that were completely controlled by Yi Chen's divine sense and could not move at all were burned by the red lotus hellfire. At the same time, the ghost qi in the entire reincarnation forest completely dissipated, and the reincarnation forest returned to its previous peaceful state. When Yi Chen saw this, he nodded in satisfaction and waved his right hand. A pop sound was heard. The enormous blood lotus that was 1,000 meters tall and 5 kilometers wide disappeared without a trace, revealing the forest that had not been burned in the slightest. Since Yi Chen had already refined the red lotus hellfire, Yi Chen could easily control what the red lotus hellfire should burn and what it should not. As for the trees in the reincarnation forest, Yi Chen naturally did not want to burn them. After all, they had automatically evolved into immortal trees when Reincarnation City evolved into Reincarnation Immortal City. It would be a pity to burn them all. After glancing at the reincarnation forest that was still green and unscathed, Yi Chen looked at Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, Guan Er, Zhang San, Zhang Liao, and the other generals. Your loyalty and bravery in killing the enemy is commendable. When you return, each of you will receive 10,000 purple coins and 10 bottles of 100-flower wine. If it were not for the efforts of Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, Guan Er, and Zhang San, the reincarnation immortal city would have been destroyed by the tide of evil spirits. Therefore, Yi Chen had to reward them. Even though the fact that Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, Guan Er, and Zhang San were able to resist the army of evil spirits had a lot to do with the Dharma treasures, spiritual weapons, and cultivation techniques that Yi Chen had given them, Yi Chen would not deny their contributions. As for the reward, it seemed a little stingy in the current reincarnation immortal city. After all, the reincarnation immortal city had developed to an extraordinary level. Yet Yi Chen still rewarded them with purple coins and 100-flower wine. If this was not stingy, what was? But in fact, it was not. Before Yi Chen went to the secret land, he had spent 2 days with Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Mei Mizhen, Huang Waner, and the 5 Zhen sisters in the city lord's mansion. He had drunk a lot of 100-flower wine. Of course, this was not the main point. The main point was the 100-flower wine. To be precise, Yi Chen originally thought that he would only be able to develop 50% of the 100-flower wine in the novice zone of the 3 kingdoms, but unexpectedly, 60% was completed. That's right, it was 60%. Although it could not be further improved due to the limited raw materials, it was this extra 10% that allowed the 100-flower wine to strengthen the body slightly and speed up cultivation greatly. Of course, this so-called speed-up was only for those in the mortal evolution state. However, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Gao Shun were all in the mortal evolution state at this moment. Hence, Yi Chen's reward was actually very good, and it happened to be what Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, and the other generals needed the most. After all, when they followed Yi Chen to the underground palace secret realm, they all broke through and became heavenly generals. The novice zone of the 3 kingdoms could no longer restrict them. To be more precise, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, and the other generals could increase their strength without restriction in the novice zone of the 3 kingdoms. Thank you, Lord. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, Zhang Liao, and the other generals' eyes lit up when they heard this. Then, they bowed to Yi Chen loudly. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, and the others didn't expect Yi Chen to reward them with 100-flower wine in addition to money. They were very clear about the use of this thing now, as they would get 3 bottles every month. Even Gao Shun, who didn't touch wine before, started to be stingy now. He didn't give the 100-flower wine that was originally given to him to Zhang San and Gui Yi, these 2 drunkards. Of course, this wasn't important. What was important was that Yi Chen gave each of them 10 bottles of 100-flower wine. Not only could they drink to their heart's content, but they could also greatly increase their strength. It was precisely because of this that Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, Gao Shun, and the other generals were so happy. When Yi Chen heard this, he nodded with a smile. Then, he looked at the 1,000,000 soldiers of Reincarnation Immortal City and shouted, "You are not afraid of evil spirits and would rather die than retreat. You will be rewarded. When you return, each of you will receive 100 purple coins and a bottle of 100-flower wine." "Many thanks, my lord." When the 1,000,000+ soldiers heard this, they were all stunned. Then, they all began to yell in excitement. When Yi Chen heard this, he nodded with a smile. Then, he looked at Mi Zhu, the city lord of Reincarnation Immortal City, and said, "Zizhong, I'll leave the reward to you. By the way, choose a place and use these 2 blueprints." After saying this, Yi Chen waved his right hand. The blueprints of the Divine Blacksmith Shop and the Divine Potion Shop appeared in Yi Chen's right hand. Then, he threw the 2 blueprints to Mi Zhu. The Divine Blacksmith Shop and the Divine Potion Shop were already in use in the real world. However, the newbie area of the 3 kingdoms had not been used yet. Naturally, Yi Chen wouldn't leave the 2 blueprints aside and not use them. When Mi Zhu heard this, he hurriedly bowed and replied loudly, "Yes, my lord." After Mi Zhu finished speaking, he hurriedly put away the 2 blueprints that were floating in front of him. When Yi Chen saw this, he nodded. Then, he moved his primordial spirit and released a huge amount of tribulation stage divine sense. In an instant, it enveloped an area of 500,000 miles. Yi Chen had no choice but to search for a needle in a haystack. After all, after Liang Fulong activated the 8 trigrams formation, he would definitely not stay in or near the Reincarnation Immortal City. To be more precise, if Liang Fulong wasn't an idiot, he would definitely run away after activating the 8 trigrams formation. Otherwise, Liang Fulong would definitely be caught by Yi Chen and killed. If it were other natives, they wouldn't have the guts or the ability to do so. However, Liang Fulong was different. He could freely travel between the real world and the game world. Moreover, he could freely travel between the 2 worlds without being recognized as a master. Such a Liang Fulong would definitely have a close relationship with the players. Then, he would obtain some life-saving items from the players. For example, teleportation and defensive one-off items. At this moment, the most likely one would be a teleportation item. In other words, Liang Fulong had used some unknown method to find the current location of the Reincarnation Immortal City. Then, he secretly came over and activated the 8 trigrams formation in the Reincarnation Forest. Then, he directly used a teleportation item to escape. It was also because of this reason that Yi Chen directly used all of his divine sense to search for any traces of Liang Fulong within a radius of 500,000 miles. As for Liang Fulong, he was a native and not a special character in the novice area of the 3 kingdoms. He couldn't fly, and it was even more impossible for him to set up the 8 trigrams formation in the Reincarnation Immortal City. The former was correct, but the latter was not. This was because Liang Fulong had already set up the 8 trigrams formation and activated it. As for how he set it up, it wasn't difficult to understand. To be more precise, the time when Liang Fulong set up the 8 trigrams formation was before the Reincarnation Immortal City became the Reincarnation Immortal City. After all, at that time, Yi Chen wanted to develop his business. He plundered the resources of the novice area of the Three Kingdoms and built the Copper Sparrow Pavilion. Then, he activated the teleportation formation. Liang Fulong could disguise himself as a merchant and come to the Reincarnation City or directly to the Reincarnation Forest. In that way, he could directly set up the 8 trigrams formation in the Reincarnation Forest. After all, at that time, the Reincarnation Forest hadn't flown into the sky with the Reincarnation Immortal City, and there weren't many restrictions. As for why Liang Fulong didn't directly activate the 8 trigrams formation at that time, Yi Chen didn't know. Perhaps he was soft-hearted, confused, or hesitant. The reason wasn't important. What was important was the result. Liang Fulong had already activated the 8 trigrams formation and almost succeeded in wreaking havoc in the Reincarnation Immortal City, causing great damage to Yi Chen's foundation. Of course, it was fortunate that Yi Chen came back in time and had the ability to deal with it. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. In the face of such a result, Yi Chen would only choose one way to deal with it, and that was to kill Liang Fulong. Chapter 768. Time passed slowly. When Yi Chen's divine sense had scanned the area within 500,000 miles of Reincarnation Immortal City, he frowned. There was no trace of Liang Fulong within 500,000 miles of Reincarnation Immortal City. Had he returned to the real world, or was he hiding in a secret realm? Liang Fulong could freely travel between the real world and the game world. If Liang Fulong went to the real world now, Yi Chen's divine sense would be useless no matter how much he searched. If Liang Fulong ran into a secret realm, Yi Chen's divine sense would also be unable to continue searching. Although Yi Chen was very clear about this, Yi Chen obviously did not like this result. Damn it, he could freely travel between the two worlds and even go to secret realms like the players. He was indeed more difficult to catch. However, thinking of this, Yi Chen narrowed his eyes and continued to use his divine sense to search for all the adult men within 500,000 miles of Reincarnation Immortal City. To be precise, he was eavesdropping on the conversations of all the adult men within this range. It must be known that Liang Fulong had definitely interacted with the players, and it was a very deep interaction. Otherwise, he would not have obtained a teleportation item, and it would be even more impossible for him to go to the real world and find out about his own fate. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that as long as Liang Fulong interacted with the players who interacted with Liang Fulong were likely to discuss Liang Fulong, Reincarnation Immortal City, and Yi Chen. After all, it had not been long since Liang Fulong activated the 8 trigrams formation. Under such a premise, if the players who interacted with Liang Fulong did not discuss this, it would not be very likely. Of course, nothing was absolute. The players might also be worried that Yi Chen would find out and find them, so they would not discuss this. However, even so, Yi Chen would not let go of any opportunity to find Liang Fulong. To Yi Chen, Liang Fulong was an anomaly. Furthermore, he was the type of anomaly that must be eliminated. Thus, Yi Chen couldn't possibly give up just because it was difficult to find Liang Fulong. One must know that the Liang Fulong who knew history and the Liang Fulong who didn't were two completely different concepts. Since Liang Fulong had made a move against Yi Chen, if he didn't kill him, he would definitely tamper with the history of the Three Kingdoms novice region. Then, he would disrupt all of Yi Chen's plans in the Three Kingdoms novice region. This was not the result that Yi Chen wanted to see. Therefore, Liang Fulong had to be found and killed at the same time. Time passed by slowly. Yi Chen continued to monitor the discussions of the players within a radius of 500,000 miles around the Reincarnation Immortal City. In less than 10 minutes, Yi Chen felt a sense of dizziness in his mind. It couldn't be helped. The voices of hundreds of millions of people were gathered together, and they had to carefully distinguish the content of every sentence. It wasn't something that could be done so easily. If it weren't for the fact that Yi Chen was currently in the tribulation stage and was about to become an immortal and had an extremely powerful primordial spirit, Yi Chen would have fainted the moment he carefully sifted through every sentence of the players. Just as Yi Chen was feeling dizzy, he suddenly heard something. Then, his divine sense directly locked onto Luo Yang. 3 seconds later, Yi Chen's eyes widened. "I've finally found him." At the thought of this, Yi Chen's mind moved, and the space in front of him instantly distorted. After glancing at the distorted space, Yi Chen took a step forward and disappeared. Luoyang City, Yueli Restaurant, Private Room A1. A middle-aged man who was about 35 or 36 years old sitting by the window suddenly frowned. Then, he looked at the fat young man sitting opposite him and asked in a deep voice, "Third brother, how many times have I told you? Don't mention Yi Chen's name recently, let alone Liang Fulong. Why didn't you listen?" When the fat young man heard this, his beaming expression suddenly froze. Then, he looked at the middle-aged man with some displeasure and said, "Big brother, there's no need to worry. Yi Chen is in the tribulation stage, and his divine sense has a range of about 200,000 miles. We are far more than 200,000 miles away from Yi Chen's reincarnation, Immortal City. What's wrong with mentioning him and Liang Fulong? There's no need to worry at all." A young man in his mid-20s, who was sitting next to the fat young man, glared at the fat young man and scolded him. "Third brother, that's the logic, but don't forget how the Li clan was annihilated. Moreover, you have to be clear about one thing. We are now scheming against Yi Chen. If we succeed, then so be it. But if we fail, with Yi Chen's current cultivation, as long as he finds out that this matter has something to do with us, we will have no way to live at all." When the fat young man heard this, he suddenly frowned, and then the expression on his face became even more displeased. The middle-aged man sitting by the window glanced at the displeased, fat young man and then said in a deep voice, "It's not just the Li clan. It's not just the Li clan. I just received news that the Gongsun clan has been wiped out by him as well." When the middle-aged fat man heard this, his originally displeased expression suddenly changed. Then, he looked at the middle-aged man in shock and asked, "What are you talking about? Big brother, is what you said true? How is that possible? Gongsun, you clearly told me that the Gongsun clan has many powerful items. Even Yi Chen would be blown up if he encountered them. How could Yi Chen destroy the Gongsun clan? The news is absolutely true. It was spread by the people subdued by the Gongsun clan. I also sent people to this world to check the outposts of the Gongsun clan. They really couldn't find anyone from the Gongsun clan, nor could they contact them." The middle-aged man sitting by the window nodded and said. When the young man heard this, he couldn't help but frown. Then, he looked at the fat young man with some displeasure and said, "Third brother, I told you to act earlier and get some powerful items from the Gongsun clan. Now, the Gongsun clan was directly destroyed by Yi Chen. Now, all the powerful items are in Yi Chen's hands. Gongsun Yu is a slut, but she's very difficult to seduce. I used the Tianma strategy to the extreme, but I still didn't succeed. You can't blame me for that," the fat middle-aged man said with some displeasure. When the middle-aged man sitting by the window heard this, he raised his right hand and said, "Enough. Don't mention Yi Chen anymore, and don't mention the dragon subduing army. Wait until the world war is over." The young man nodded, then looked at the middle-aged man and asked, "Big brother, do you think that thing will succeed?" The middle-aged man nodded and said, "It's quite possible. At least, he used the 8 trigrams formation to cover for us. Those evil spirits transformed by the power of the 8 trigrams formation are indeed unkillable. In fact, they're getting stronger and stronger." When the fat young man heard this, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and chuckle. "It'll be great if it succeeds. Now, he'll lose the right to dominate the world. No matter how strong he is, he's only one person. There's no way he can dominate the world." That's right. As long as it succeeds, the price we paid to find the location of the reincarnation immortal city will be nothing. The young man couldn't help but smirk when he heard this. When the middle-aged man heard this, he smiled slightly, then raised his wine glass and drank it in one gulp. The moment the middle-aged man put down his wine glass, the space in the private room suddenly distorted. In the next second, a young man covered with killing intent and giving off a berserk aura stepped out and appeared here. At this moment, the three men in the private room were stunned. Then, their eyes widened at the same time. In the next second, the three of them stood up together and shouted in shock, "Yi Chen!" Chapter 769. When Yi Chen heard the three men's exclamations, he smiled coldly. Then, he looked directly at the middle-aged man sitting by the window and asked, "Where is Liang Fulong?" When the middle-aged man heard this, his expression changed drastically. He would never have thought that Yi Chen would be able to find out about his scheme against the reincarnation immortal city. Otherwise, how could Yi Chen arrive here so quickly and ask about Liang Fulong's whereabouts? At this moment, an emotion called extreme fear involuntarily appeared in the middle-aged man's heart. At the same time, the middle-aged man's heart began to beat violently uncontrollably. Dong dong dong, death, complete death, was the source of the middle-aged man's extreme fear. This was because he knew how Yi Chen did things and how cruel Yi Chen was. Of course, this was not the key. The key was that Yi Chen had the Godslayer that could directly destroy souls. If he was killed by this thing, he would die in the real world as well. Moreover, it would be a complete death. It was because of this that the middle-aged man was so fearful and terrified. When he thought of being killed by Yi Chen, the middle-aged man's body began to tremble involuntarily. He did not want to die. He still wanted to live on. Therefore, the middle-aged man immediately came to his senses and went offline without hesitation. He wanted to leave the game world immediately. Only by leaving the game world could he avoid Yi Chen and avoid certain death. He did not think that Yi Chen, who had killed millions of people without batting an eye, would let him go. However, when the middle-aged man thought of going offline, he did not succeed in doing so. When the middle-aged man noticed this, his pupils constricted. At the same time, the fat young man and the young man shuddered and then screamed, "Why can't we go offline?" Obviously, the two brothers of the middle-aged man had the same idea as the middle-aged man. They also wanted to go offline directly and avoid Yi Chen. Unfortunately, although their idea was good, the result made them collapse. In the past, he only needed to use his mind to go offline, but he had failed. Even if they tried to log off dozens of times in an instant, the outcome was the same. They were still in the game world, in room A of Luoyang's Yueli restaurant. When Yi Chen heard this, he glanced at the three of them and curled his lips in disdain. Yi Chen was a player. Naturally, he knew that players could freely log off when they were not in combat or had no special restrictions. Of course, this was not the main point. The main point was that Yi Chen knew very well that many players would log off to avoid danger. In Yi Chen's previous life, quite a few players had done this. Even Yi Chen had frequently done so. It was precisely because of this that Yi Chen used his spirit consciousness to envelop room A and form a special space when he arrived at Yueli restaurant. Yi Chen naturally did this to impose restrictions. To be precise, he wanted to prevent the three people in the room from logging off. The result was obvious. The middle-aged man, the fat youth, and the three brothers immediately thought of logging off, but they failed. "Idiots, you want to log off in front of me? You think too much." Thinking of this, Yi Chen smiled coldly and asked again, "What about you? Where is Liang Fulong?" Realizing that he could not log off, the pale-faced middle-aged man's heart involuntarily thumped when he heard this. This was because he sensed the taste of death in Yi Chen's words. To be precise, if he dared not reply, Yi Chen would directly kill him. Just as the middle-aged man thought of this, Yi Chen, who had finished asking again, waved his right hand. The thick black godslayer instantly appeared in Yi Chen's right hand. At this moment, whether it was the middle-aged man, the fat youth, or the young man, they all took a few steps back. The fat youth even almost tripped over the stool behind him. Clearly, the three of them recognized the godslayer that Yi Chen had suddenly summoned. It was the black spear that was extremely famous among the player community. It was so famous that those who heard it trembled in fear. It was the black spear with the ability to destroy souls. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so scared and terrified. After all, this was the game world. There was no need to worry about normal death. At most, they would lose a level. However, if they were killed by the godslayer, they would really die. Moreover, it was the kind of death that happened in the real world. The middle-aged man looked at the thick black godslayer with a pale face. Then, he tried his best to stabilize his violently beating heart. Only then did he look at Yi Chen and bow to Yi Chen. "Nangong Xing greets you of Beach, Lord Nangong." The fat youth and the young man, who were frightened by Yi Chen's sudden summoning of the godslayer, immediately came back to their senses when they heard this. The two of them looked at each other and hurriedly bowed to Yi Chen. "Nangong Xing, Nangong Feng, greets you of Beach, Lord Nangong." Hearing this, Yi Chen glanced at the three of them and curled his lips in disdain. In the next second, Yi Chen raised his right hand and stabbed the godslayer in his right hand at the young man. A sound was heard. The black and thick god-slaying spear instantly pierced through the young man's heart and came out of his body. At that instant, the young man's eyes widened. Then, he opened his mouth. However, before he could let out a miserable howl, with a bang, he directly exploded. Then, one could see the young man's flesh, internal organs, large intestines, and other fragments all splattering out. The middle-aged man, Nangong Xing, narrowed his eyes when he saw this. The fat youth, Nangong Xing, screamed in horror. At the same time, the sound of collision was heard. It was caused by the young man's body exploding into pieces and blood splattering on the ground. The middle-aged man, Nangong Xing, and the fat youth, Nangong Xing. Yi Chen glanced at Nangong Xing and Nangong Xing, who were covered in blood, and asked, "Are you going to say it or not?" At first glance, the three of them seemed very polite when they introduced themselves. Unfortunately, in Yi Chen's eyes, it was a sign that they were prepared to talk nonsense or deceive. To be precise, they were trying to worm their way into being friends with Nangong Xing and then try their best to disassociate themselves from the matter of Liang Fulong plotting against the reincarnation immortal city. Yi Chen had seen and met many people with similar behavior in his previous life. Basically, they were all the same. Of course, there were many people like this even before the meteor fell. However, this was not important. What was important was that Yi Chen was not in the mood to continue wasting time with the two brothers of the Nangong family. It was naturally best for them to say it directly. Yi Chen would give them a quick death. After all, they were involved in plotting against the reincarnation immortal city. If they did not say it, Yi Chen would force them to say it. In fact, Yi Chen directly killed one of them. This was also Yi Chen's method. To be precise, he wanted to give them some pressure and force them to say everything. One had to know that Yi Chen was determined to kill Liang Fulong. It was impossible for him to let him go. Therefore, Yi Chen had to know where Liang Fulong was hiding at this moment. As for whether this was too cruel and brutal, what a joke. If Yi Chen had not returned in time and had the means to deal with the army of evil spirits that had been transformed by the 8 trigrams formation, Yi Chen's reincarnation immortal city would have been destroyed by the army of evil spirits. Even Yi Chen's subordinates would have suffered along with them. Faced with such a situation, how could Yi Chen be soft-hearted? In fact, even if they could not cause any harm to the reincarnation immortal city, Yi Chen would not let any of them off as enemies with Yi Chen. Yi Chen walked the path of imperial hegemony. There was no mercy, no compromise, and no mercy. To put it simply, those who followed him would prosper, and those who opposed him would perish. Chapter 770. After hearing Yi Chen's ice-cold words, Nan Gongsheng's heart, which was already beating violently, suddenly tightened. Then, he saw his pupils dilate abruptly. Death was something that all living beings were afraid of, and humans were the best of the best. At this moment, Nan Gongsheng felt death. To be more precise, death was about to befall him. At this moment, Nan Gongsheng's expression became extremely strange. He seemed to be struggling, twisting, and extremely terrified. However, in the blink of an eye, Nan Gongsheng figured something out and let out a long sigh. In the next second, Nan Gongsheng looked at Yi Chen with a complicated expression and said, "If I'm not wrong, you'll kill the two of us regardless of whether we tell you or not." When Yi Chen heard this, he took a glance at Nan Gongsheng and said, "What you said is correct. From the moment you chose to stand against me and become my enemy, this ending was already decided." Nan Gongsheng was silent for a moment. Then, he looked at Yi Chen and asked, "Everyone says that the strongest human, Yi Chen, is very mysterious and knows a lot of secrets. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to rise so quickly, and no one could suppress him or catch up with him. Since I'm going to die, can you tell me before I die why everything has been going so smoothly for you since the beginning of the game? Not only did you obtain treasures that made countless people jealous, but you also recruited countless historical generals, historical officials, and historical beauties. And now, your realm has completely exceeded everyone's imagination. You've directly reached the tribulation stage?" Yi Chen narrowed his eyes when he heard this. Nan Gongsheng suddenly calmed down and asked about Yi Chen's secret. At first glance, it seemed like he wanted to be a ghost who understood everything. After all, Yi Chen's game history was too strange and abnormal. However, Yi Chen felt that something was wrong. Nan Gongsheng's behavior was not normal. One had to know that he was extremely terrified at the beginning. To be more precise, Nan Gongsheng did not want to die at all. But now, not only did Nan Gongsheng suddenly calm down, he even asked about Yi Chen's secret in a resigned manner. Under normal circumstances, it was very difficult for something like this to happen. After all, this was death, the kind that was complete death. It was not just empty words. However, Nan Gongsheng had calmed down from his extreme fear and even asked about Yi Chen's secret. It would be strange if there was nothing fishy about this. Of course, with or without ghosts, Yi Chen would never reveal the secret of his rebirth. Even if this person was a dead man, Yi Chen would not say anything. Firstly, it was unnecessary. Secondly, it was very dangerous. There was nothing much to say about the first reason. As for the second reason, it was because rebirth represented otherworldliness. If Yi Chen did not hide this secret in his heart and revealed it, although the players would not affect Yi Chen, the heavenly Tao would not turn a blind eye. To be precise, if the secret of Yi Chen's rebirth was discovered by the heavenly Tao, it would be fine in the real world. However, it would be different when Yi Chen arrived in the primordial world. One had to know that the heavenly Tao of the primordial world did not allow the existence of otherworldliness. This way, the great desolate world's heavenly Tao would impose all sorts of restrictions on Yi Chen and put him through all sorts of trials. Before Yi Chen became a peak existence in the great desolate world, the heavenly Tao might even send down a heavenly punishment and directly blast him to smithereens. After all, the heavenly Tao of the primordial world wanted a world that could be controlled, not a primordial world where otherworldliness ran rampant, transcended everything, and destroyed everything. This was the reason why Yi Chen's secret of rebirth was very dangerous after revealing it. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that Nan Gongsheng's sudden abnormal behavior had attracted Yi Chen's attention. It was basically impossible for a person who was afraid of death to suddenly become indifferent to life and death. Did he ask this question to obtain a definite answer and then spread it? The entire private room was locked by my divine sense. It was impossible for him to spread any information. Wait. Nan Gongsheng, Could they be members of the Nangong clan? Although there were not many people with the surname Nangong, there were still quite a few of them. However, people with the surname Nangong were not members of the Nangong clan that dominated a region in Yi Chen's previous life. It was also because of this reason that Yi Chen did not think in this direction when he first heard the names of the three people. After all, the Nangong clan's reputation in Yi Chen's previous life was passable. They had not attacked the territories of other forces, nor had they been jealous of anything and sent people to snatch it. Other than this, the Nangong clan's good reputation was also related to the fact that they had saved many people who were in desperate situations and had nowhere to go. Even if the Nangong clan's real purpose of saving people was to get some subordinates who were willing to sacrifice their lives for them, it could not erase the fact that they had saved a large number of people who could not survive. In Yi Chen's previous life, Yi Chen had also been a subordinate of the Nangong clan. Of course, at that time, Yi Chen was cannon fodder. That's right, cannon fodder. Although the Nangong clan's reputation was passable, they were not philanthropists. Hence, the demand for cannon fodder subordinates was still very high. And Yi Chen's previous life was at the bottom. If he did not become cannon fodder, he would not be able to survive. There was no other way. Back then, Yi Chen was willing to go to the Nangong clan as cannon fodder because the Nangong clan's remuneration was high. Moreover, Yi Chen could obtain a relatively stable living environment there and play games peacefully. In the end, Yi Chen, this cannon fodder, offended a relative of the Nangong clan. Who knew how long it would take for Yi Chen to reach that relative? Then, Yi Chen was forced to leave the Nangong clan and run elsewhere to continue his life. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that if Nangong Sheng was really a member of the Nangong clan that dominated Yi Chen's previous life, then Nangong Sheng's sudden change would make sense. Because this involved the key figure of the Nangong clan, Nangong Shursan. It was said that Nangong Shursan had the bloodline of the witch tribe and was inextricably linked to the players of the witch tribe. As for whether this was true or not, other than those related to Nangong Shursan, no one knew. Although Yi Chen did not know whether this was true or not, Yi Chen knew one thing. The rise of the Nangong clan and its domination in his previous life was 99% due to Nangong Shursan. It could be said that Nangong Shursan was the one who supported the Nangong clan. Of course, this was not important. What was important was Nangong Shursan's ability. In Yi Chen's previous life, Nangong Shursan had a strange and unpredictable goo arts. The goo worms that he controlled were ever-changing. Among them, there was a goo worm called the Shadow Goo that had the ability to record and record. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's consciousness moved and instantly enveloped Nangong Sheng. After a few breaths, Yi Chen withdrew his consciousness and directly probed Nangong Sheng. After checking Nangong Sheng, Yi Chen looked at Nangong Sheng and asked, "Who is Nangong Shursan to you? You know Shursan?" Nangong Sheng's eyes narrowed and he shouted in shock. Hearing this, Yi Chen instantly confirmed his previous guess. Nangong Sheng and Nangong Zheng were members of the Nangong clan. Thinking of this, Yi Chen raised the Godslayer in his right hand and stabbed it at Nangong Sheng. With a poochie sound, the black and thick Godslayer stabbed into Nangong Sheng's heart and came out from his back. Why? Nangong Sheng lowered his head and looked at the Godslayer that had pierced through his body, then asked. He did not understand why Yi Chen suddenly mentioned Nangong Shursan. He also did not understand why Yi Chen did not even ask where Liang Fulong was and immediately started killing. Just as he finished speaking, his body exploded with a bang. Then, he saw pieces of flesh and blood splattering all over the sky. At the same time, the Godslayer flashed and devoured Nangong Sheng's soul in an instant. When the fat young man, Nangong Zheng, saw this, his eyes suddenly shrank. Then, he let out an extremely sharp scream. In the next second, Nangong Zheng hurriedly looked at Yi Chen and shouted in horror, "Don't kill me! I don't want to die. Don't kill me. As long as you let me go, I'll tell you everything you want to know." Hearing this, Yi Chen waved his right hand and the air surged. Then, it formed an air shield and trapped Nangong Zheng within it. In the next second, Yi Chen coldly glanced at Nangong Zheng and asked, "What are you talking about? Where is Liang Fulong?" The reputation of the Nangong clan, whether Nangong Shursan was related to the Witch Tribe players, or whether he was actually a Witch Tribe player himself, these were not important. What was important was that Yi Chen saw the shadow gu in Nangong Sheng and Nangong Zheng's bodies that had the ability to record scenes. Apart from this, Yi Chen also saw the explosive poison gu in their bodies that he had seen in his previous life. This was enough to show that Nangong Shursan knew about Liang Fulong and was even involved in it. He had given the members of the Nangong clan the means to deal with Yi Chen. After all, once the gu with the explosive poison ability was activated, the flesh and blood in the body would rapidly turn into a highly toxic substance. Then, it would explode and attack all living things in the surroundings. Even if such a gu was used, it would be on cannon fodder, and not on the members of the Nangong clan. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that the members of the Nangong clan had the explosive poison gu. This was enough to show that the Nangong clan was using this as a last resort to deal with Yi Chen. After all, the only person who could threaten the Nangong clan now was Yi Chen alone. In order to deal with others, there was no need to place the explosive poison gu in one's body. As this was the game world, there was no harm in placing the explosive poison gu in one's body. It was not considered dangerous. At first glance, this made sense. However, the problem was that the explosive poison gu could only be refined in the real world before entering the Eldritch world. It could not be refined in the beginner's area of the Three Kingdoms. In other words, if one wanted to carry the explosive poison in the game world, one could only use it in the real world before bringing it into the game world. If not for this restriction, Nangong Sheng, Nangong Zheng, and Nangong Fang might have directly used the explosive poison the moment Yi Chen arrived. The reason why Yi Chen knew this secret and recognized the explosive poison was because Yi Chen had been in the Nangong clan in his previous life. He had seen other cannon fodder voluntarily injected with the explosive poison gu. Otherwise, Yi Chen would not have directly stabbed Nangong Sheng to death after sensing the explosive poison in his body. Although Yi Chen did not know what kind of poison the poison explosion gu worm's poison was, nor did he know how strong its toxicity was, Yi Chen was confident that he could block it. However, Yi Chen was not interested in purposely taking on the poison explosion blood. Chapter 771. When the fat youth, Nangong Zheng, heard Yi Chen's cold question, his body, which was already trembling from fear, suddenly trembled even more violently. In the next second, Nangong Zheng looked at Yi Chen in panic and stammered, "Why you won't kill me? If you promise not to kill me, I'll tell you." Obviously, Nangong Zheng was worried that if he told Yi Chen what he wanted to know, he would be killed by Yi Chen. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so scared and forced to negotiate with Yi Chen. After all, Nangong Zheng didn't want to die. He wanted to live on. When Yi Chen heard this, he glanced at Nangong Zheng. Then, he stabbed Nangong Zheng's leg with the Godslayer in his right hand. Poochie! The black and thick Godslayer instantly stabbed into Nangong Zheng's thigh and came out through his leg. Nangong Zheng, who was waiting for Yi Chen's affirmative answer, froze. He saw the entire process of the Godslayer stabbing him and felt the pain of his thigh being pierced. However, because the Godslayer was too fast, Nangong Zheng didn't feel any pain when it pierced through his thigh. At that moment, Nangong Zheng had the thought that he was going to die. That was because he was stabbed by Yi Chen's Godslayer, which could devour souls and kill players in the real world. Before Nangong Zheng could think of anything else, a bone-deep pain surged from his thigh and attacked Nan Gongzheng's nerve. At that moment, Nan Gongzheng's face paled with a whoosh. Then, he let out an extremely miserable howl. Ouch! This was the game world, the real world. When players came online to play the game, if they were injured in the real world, their bodies wouldn't be injured or bleed, but the pain would be the same. This was also the premise that Yi Chen interrogated Nan Gongzheng about the location of Liang Fulong. If not for this, Yi Chen wouldn't have been able to interrogate Nan Gongzheng. After all, if one could not feel pain, then there would be no fear. Although no one liked death, a painless death wouldn't scare anyone to the point of breaking down. In this way, the effectiveness of the interrogation would be greatly reduced. After all, there was no pain involved. Of course, this was only a hypothesis. The real situation was that any injuries suffered in the game world would cause the same pain in the real world. At this moment, Nan Gongzheng was experiencing the feeling of having his thigh and leg bones pierced and shattered. This sort of sensation nearly caused Nan Gongzheng to collapse. It could be seen from how his body was twisting and trembling non-stop. Of course, the reason why Nan Gongzheng was in such a state was not only because of the bone-piercing pain, but also because he was about to die. After all, he had been stabbed by Godslayer. Yi Chen glanced at Nan Gongzheng, whose legs were trembling violently because of the severe injury. "Tell me, and I'll give you a quick death. Otherwise, you'll die slowly. If you want to activate the explosive poison goo in your body, go ahead and try." If Nan Gongzheng didn't want to continue suffering and activated the explosive poison goo, he would die quickly. Of course, he would die in the real world as well. This was because the explosive poison goo in his body was in the real world. If he activated it in the game world, the explosive poison goo in the real world would be activated at the same time. But this way, Nan Gongzheng's flesh, blood, and even bones would be poisoned and liquefied. The pain caused by this was inhumane torture. In his previous life, Yi Chen had personally seen those cannon fodder who willingly or passively accepted the poison explosion goo worm. When the poison explosion goo worm was activated, that kind of tragic expression, and he had even heard those indescribable howls. To put it simply, the pain caused by the explosive poison goo after it was activated was inhumane torture. When Nan Gongzheng, who was howling in pain, heard this, his face, which had started to distort, suddenly froze. Nan Gongzheng had indeed thought of self-detonating. To be precise, he wanted to activate the explosive poison goo and attack Yi Chen before he died. Regardless of whether he succeeded or not, he was prepared to do so. Because he was stabbed by the Godslayer, he was definitely going to die. He was going to die completely. But now, what did he hear? Yi Chen was asking him again, and he even mentioned the explosive poison goo. What did this mean? Nan Gongzheng didn't understand at first, but now he understood. To be precise, he wasn't going to die, at least not now. Otherwise, Yi Chen wouldn't ask him this. Thinking of this, Nan Gongzheng heaved a sigh of relief. But immediately, Nan Gongzheng's face turned pale. Because in Yi Chen's words there were a few words, "Give me a quick death." What did this mean? Wasn't it that Yi Chen still wanted to kill him, Nan Gongzheng? Thinking of this, Nan Gongzheng's face twisted. This was too perverted. He would kill him even if he didn't. Did he have to be so cruel? Just as Nan Gongzheng thought of this, he was stunned again. How did Yi Chen know about the explosive poison goo? This was clearly our Nangong clan's secret. Just as Nan Gongzheng was filled with shock and couldn't understand how Yi Chen knew so much, Yi Chen continued. If it's the explosive poison goo, the process will be even more painful. Maybe you haven't seen the process of the explosive poison goo, but I can tell you very seriously that it's really painful. Oh right, I forgot to tell you. Is your Nangong clans Nangong Zhen or Nangong Cheng? I know where they are. If you don't tell me, I'll go over and interrogate them one by one. Of course, even if you tell me, I'll still go over. Yi Chen chuckled as he looked at the dazed Nangong Jing. Then, he pulled out his right hand. Poof! The God-Slayer left Nangong Jing's thigh instantly. At the same time, 2 streams of blood spurted out from the holes in Nangong Jing's legs. Nangong Jing instantly let out a shrill cry. At this moment, Yi Chen stabbed the God-Slayer in his right hand towards Nangong Jing again. Poochie! A sound was heard. The black and thick God-Slayer instantly pierced through Nangong Jing's other leg. Nangong Jing, who hadn't regained his senses, let out an inhuman cry. Ouch! At this moment, Nangong Jing's eyes rolled back and he fainted. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Nangong Jing's body fell to the ground. When Yi Chen saw this, he couldn't help frowning. Damn it, it had been some time since the meteor fell. Why was this fatty's willpower so weak? Thinking of this, Yi Chen pulled out his left hand. Slap! Nangong Jing's chubby face instantly swelled up. At the same time, Nangong Jing, who had fainted from the intense pain, woke up. After a short moment of confusion, Nangong Jing was instantly jolted awake by the intense pain. He looked at Yi Chen and shouted, "I'll talk. Give me a quick death." He didn't want to die, but he didn't want to continue being tortured either. Since the outcome was already decided, why should he continue to endure the excruciating pain? The God-Slayer was so thick. It shattered his bones and pierced through his thigh. How painful would that be? Moreover, it was only a stab to the thigh. If it was a stab to the crotch, Yi Chen wouldn't be able to do it. Even Yi Chen, who was known for his cruelty and ruthlessness, might do it. At least, that was what Nangong Jing thought. It was precisely because he thought of all these possibilities that Nangong Jing had the idea of directly telling Yi Chen the answer he wanted. As for directly activating the explosive poison goo, Nangong Jing had indeed thought of it at first. However, after Yi Chen's explanation, Nangong Jing didn't want to do it anymore. Because then, it was very likely that it would be more painful. As for Yi Chen lying, Nangong Jing didn't think so. If it were someone else, they might, but Yi Chen wouldn't. Because Yi Chen was now in the tribulation passing stage. According to the inheritance records that the Nangong family had obtained before the meteor fell, tribulation passing stage cultivators had the ability to speak the law. To be precise, the higher the cultivation level of a cultivator, the more they couldn't speak carelessly. Otherwise, they would be suppressed and punished by heaven and earth. It was precisely because of this that Nangong Jing didn't think that Yi Chen was lying. Although he didn't know why Yi Chen knew about the explosive poison goo that only the members of the Nangong family knew about, this wasn't important. What was important was that after the explosive poison goo was activated, Nangong Jing might have to endure unimaginable pain. Nangong Jing didn't want to endure such pain. Of course, he didn't want to continue being tortured by Yi Chen either. It was also because of these reasons that Nangong Jing made up his mind to tell Yi Chen what he wanted to know. Although he was unwilling and extremely resentful, he had no choice. He was just an ant in front of Yi Chen. He couldn't resist at all. Regret? Very much. If he could do it all over again, Nangong Jing would rather play the game obediently than listen to Nangong Shirsan's orders and scheme against Yi Chen. When he thought of this, Nangong Jing looked at Yi Chen with a complicated expression and said, he then said, "Since you know where my Nangong family is, I won't say anything. As for Liang Fulong, he should be hiding in Fox Branch Mountain now." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.